This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, we'll do some preparation. Okay, we'll create a couple of servers in AWS platform, and we'll try and get them prepared for migration. Okay, so there are no instances running here, right? So I'll go and create a couple of systems. So I'll create two servers, and then one of them will increase the capacity. Okay, so okay, let's do something here. So let's not. Okay, two instances. Okay, North Virginia. Let's create it. Okay, in order to do migration, we need at least two systems. Okay, so even in the on-premises or whether it is in different cloud, we need to have a server that will act as a configuration server or a kind of centralized server, which can be used as a source connection point. So you have a set of servers in on-prem, or you have a set of servers in AWS cloud or Google cloud. We want these systems to get migrated to Azure platform. So in order to do that, we need to have an appliance which can collect the configuration, collect the data, and then pass it on to Azure platform. So we need to have a kind of replication server. Okay, and that is what we need to create. And also we'll create one or two servers which can be migrated to Azure. Okay, so let's try and prepare this platform quickly. Sunday morning, right? People are slowly joining in. So I will give some name for this. So I'll say this is configuration server. Okay, I will just say that this is AWS server 1. Okay. So we will be migrating this server to Azure platform, and this server will be acting as a intermediate server which can collect the information and it can pass it on to Azure. Okay, so let this get created. Okay, so when we always talk about migration, people think that migrating server is the only thing that we do actually, but that is not the case. We might need to migrate data, we might need to migrate applications, we might need to migrate server, we might need to migrate some databases and so on, and virtual desktops, or I would say desktops. Okay, so these are the 5 major things that a migration engineer will take care of. Okay, so for different tools, we have different options. For example, for data, we already discussed few things, right? We talked about Azure Data Box, Azure, I mean, AZ copy. We can use like Azure Import Export, and we can also use Azure Storage Explorer. There are variety of tools. There are more than one tool which can be used for copying the data from on-premise environment to Azure platform. So we saw some of the practical on Azure copy and Azure Storage Explorer, how to request for a data box, or how to do an import export job. What are the steps involved? We discussed it during the storage class. Today, we will be primarily focusing on server, but we'll also see the migration of database in the next class. Okay, but today our primary focus will be on how to migrate a server, like we call it as lift and shift. We are migrating, moving a virtual machine from one cloud to another cloud, we used to discuss about how to migrate from on-premises VMware to cloud platform earlier, but it takes more time. Okay, we need at least 6 to 7 hours in a stage to complete that particular migration. It takes a lot of time because of the bandwidth constraint and so on. But if in case you have a VMware workstation with some VMware environment, let me know. I can show you the steps how to do it and all those things. But in complete practical, we'll see how to migrate from one cloud to another cloud. Okay, when it comes to application or database or desktop migration, so all these migrations can be accommodated using one service called Azure Migrate. So Azure Migrate is a one-stop place where you can go and do all the set of migrations. When I say migrations, data can be migrated, applications can be migrated, even your database and virtual desktops can be migrated. But before migration, okay, so this is actual migration tool, right? So before getting migrated into the cloud, there is a lot of different phases that are involved. So when I say phases, we can put it in simple words, or we can also get them more complicated. Okay, we have to just go and do a evaluation first. When I say evaluate, some people call it as discovery, some people call it as evaluation, or I would say evaluation is kind of an assessment, right? So some people call it as assessment or evaluation. So the first phase should have to be a planning phase or a discover phase. So once you get the data on what are the things that you are planning to migrate, and you are prepared for the migration, we'll go and do a design. When I say design, which type of data or which type of workload, migration workload, we are planning with which kind of tools. So that kind of design and stuff that we need to put in together, and then the actual migration comes in. Okay, so migration is I would say like it's a third or fourth phase. But before that, we have to spend a lot of time in order to plan, evaluate, do an assessment, and then only you'll have a much better option. So once after you migrate, it does not stop there. We have to kind of keep optimizing the environment, keeping the environment secure. So all these things are part and parcel for your migration, but the more focus will be on the migration phase today. Okay, we'll also discuss on what are the other phases, what are the different tools we use, what are the different set of tools that are available in the market and all those things. But we'll be focusing on server migration today. We'll be focusing on the migration phase, but we'll also discuss on the other set of phases and what are the different tools that is available, and how we can make best use of it. Okay, so with that said, I think these two machines should have to be ready by now. Okay, both of them are online and running. So I'll go and change the size of this VM. So I'll go and stop the VM first. Okay, I'll go and increase the size for this VM, because this configuration server, it needs to have more capacity. Okay, I'll just go and increase the size for it. Okay, I'll go to the instance setting. Okay, let's wait for the system to get turned off its stopping state. Okay, so now I can go to actions, go to instance settings, change the instance type. So I will go and change it to something a little larger. I need more memory power, so I'll go and choose M2 extra large. Okay, get still 2 CPU. M3 2x large. Okay, I'll also go and increase the size of the volume for this. Okay, go to the volumes. Okay. Let me check the volume associated with this server. Okay, this is the one. I'll go and increase the size. We need at least 150 GB for the OS volume because of the migration requirement. Okay, now I can go and start the VM. The documentation. Okay, let's wait for it. The volume might be getting modified. Oh, did I give okay, 150 only, right? Okay, news, that's fine. Let me quickly check the instance settings. These guys are giving too many options. That's the problem. To start large. Okay. Okay. So some instances, it is not supported in a free tier option. Okay, so that's why it did not allow me. But again, I just upgraded it. Okay, let's try and connect to the server. It's pending. Okay, it will take. Okay, it started running. Okay, anyways, so we have two systems. Okay, so as I said, what we are planning to do is, even if it is a VMware environment or a third-party cloud, okay, you have a set of systems, either your AWS or your VMware platform. What you have to do is you have to use this, use a kind of appliance that has to be created in your source environment. And with that, you'll be able to migrate all the workloads from your source environment to the Azure platform. So this particular server will hold the configuration details, and it will act as a kind of caching server for doing the migration. Okay, it's like called as a config server or a caching server or a master target server. Okay, the actual server which you are planning to migrate is different. Okay, so we should have a appliance, or we should have a VM that will act as an intermediate server to do the replication. So the replication will happen from this server. And there are two different options. Okay, but we will be primarily focusing on Azure Migrate. There is another option called Azure VMware solution, but you can choose either Azure VMware solution if you are planning to migrate from VMware to VMware on a Azure platform. But Azure Migrate will be useful for migrating from VMware virtual machine to Azure native virtualization platform, which is like predominantly on Hyper-V. Okay, so we'll be focusing more on Azure Migrate. I'll also give you some some information around this second option. Okay, let's try to log into these systems. Okay, it's still initializing. And let's do one thing. Okay, so when you go to the portal, you have an option called Azure Migrate. So on the left, you have all the different options. Okay, whatever we discussed. If you want to migrate a server, you have to go and select Windows, Linux, and SQL Server. If you want to migrate databases only, you can just select this. If you want to migrate desktop infrastructure, virtual desktop infrastructure, you can select this. This is for application. So as I said, we'll be focusing more on the server option. The data box is for migrating data. So just the data, actually, Azure Data Box. So if I select this Windows, Linux, and SQL Server, it is asking me, before migrating anything, you have to go and create a project that can act as a centralized platform to do the discovery and analysis. Okay, so you need to have an Azure project which is created to start with. Okay, so Azure project. it can be like a different application we might need to migrate. We might need to migrate different data center. We might need to migrate different locations, right? So based on the complexity, you can go and create different project. You can say migration from data center X on-prem data center X. Same way, like you can go and create migration of a particular application. You can create multiple different Azure project for doing a discovery and assessment plus the migration. Okay, so here what I will do is I'll just go and say project Azure migration project 1. So I'm going to create it in Asia Pacific or wherever you want to do it. You can just do it. I'm going to select United States and I can create a project here. Okay. So once after you create a project, the very first thing you have to do is the portfolio discovery and planning. So the very first step is you have to discover the environment and understand what are the complexity involved, whether you can do the actual migration or any challenges involved. Okay, so that is the first thing which you have to do. You have to do a discovery and assessment. Okay, let's do something here. The very first step is discover and assessment phase, right? In Microsoft terms, we have different terminologies, but you can correlate it. Okay, so we call it as migration preparation and business planning, or migration preparation and business planning. Okay, and the next step is portfolio discovery and planning, and the next step is actual migration, and maybe you can also include the validation also here. Okay, then the operations team will take over. They will start operating, they will do optimization, and they will increase and decrease the load based on the requirement. And the next important thing is securing the infrastructure more, right? So these are the high level steps as per Microsoft, but you can also use simple terms to understand what exactly different phases are. So when it comes to migration, it is not just about tools actually. So tools also plays a major role. Okay, we have to choose the right tool to migrate. But on top of that, there are a lot of other factors, like we have to have the right skilled people. We also have to have a right methodology in place. We need to have the right set of processes in place so that you have the migration done successfully. Okay, these are the four pillars when it comes to actual migration. So some people think when we select the right tool, things will work just like that. No, your organization have to have the right skilled people. So that's why you see a lot of companies have teams like Center of Excellence team, or they have something called Migration Factory or Migration Center, CMF, CAM. Different organizations will have different Center of Excellence. So they will call it as Migration Factory, or they will be calling it as Migration Center, because like these people are highly skilled in using the different evaluation tools or assessment tools and help with actual migration. And some companies, they call it as uh, cloud cloud adoption or cloud scam team, CMF team. There are different teams. There will be like, okay, so in some company they will have it as cloud migration factory or just migration factory and all those things. So why they are doing it? They want to have all the 1 second, guys. Let me reshare my screen. I'll just log out from a couple of tools here. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So that's why we need to have a proper framework in place, or proper set of people in place. So this is mainly talking about the skills that is needed. So we need to build the skill set. So we also have to bring together all the different documentation, lessons learned, whatever knowledge management, everything we want to bring it into a particular portfolio, so that we don't have to reinvent for different accounts. So large scale companies like IBM, HCL, or Wipro, or DXC, they do a kind of migration factory, or they will create a center of excellence team where they want to have a central place to have all the knowledge management. Okay, when I say knowledge management, they want to have a lot of documentations created like SOP or KB article or lessons learned article and all those things. And they want these documentation to be available for the entire set of people. So we don't have to reinvent the issues, or we don't have to kind of go and do something which we already know. So in order to streamline this process, a lot of different companies have separate a set of people for migration architect, migration engineers, and there are different roles that will be enabled. Okay, so this is not just this, right? So knowledge management is one part. On top of that, there might be some issues that we might have gone across. So problem management will have some additional information. So there might be some risks which we already know. There might be some issue register or risk register. So these information will not be scattered across different region and different account teams. So they want it to be under one umbrella so that all the data that is needed for a migration engineer will be available in one single place. So the processes they are trying to streamline, and on the other side, they want the rightly skilled people to do the actual migration. And these are all two important pillars. And people think like if we choose the right tools, we can complete the migration. Yes, it might be like 50-50. Okay, in some cases the tool might take care of the migration, but if there are some issues or challenges, then you need to have the right methods or right people in place in order to have the successful migration. So choosing right tools, choosing right technology for the destination like Azure or AWS, or what kind of thing that you need. And also you have to have the proper governance, and we need to have the right level of identity involvement, right level of network involvement, security practices, governance practices. So all those things should have to be in place. Okay, so tool is important. On top of that, if for example, like if the migration engineer is not available during the weekend, you have planned the schedule the migration, then the migration will be a failure. And if you don't have a proper methodology, like you have to create a lot of business processes. Okay, that is very, very important. We need to create processes for different migration workload. So some business processes might be very good for an industrial manufacturing customer. For a consumer and retail, there might be some different processes that might be useful. Okay, so what generally the migration architects or the migration set of people do is they go and get executive sponsorship first. Okay, that is the very first thing. They will go and do it. I'll help you with how to justify for the migration and what are the different things that are involved. Okay, we'll talk about how to justify a particular migration. And before that, okay, so we have to get the executive sponsorship. And in order to get the executive sponsorship, we have to tell them what are the advantages that a particular business is going to get. So we call it as business case creation. Okay, so we have to go and create a business case on what are the different advantages or what are the different things that the customer can get out of this migration. Because if you're not defining the metrics, or if you're not defining the success criteria, measurement criteria, then you won't be kind of showcasing the benefit to the account later or the customer later. So we need to kind of build out a metrics on what kind of things that we are planning to do, and what is the successful or measurement criteria for this particular actual migration. So in order to do all these things, some people like they will do a pilot or a POC kind of activity before they start the migration, because they will get to understand if there are any network bottlenecks or security challenges, or if there are any network port challenges, or whatever different things, right? They want to understand at least on a very high level, because during the migration we cannot ask the customer to delay the migration. So there might be some firewall rules blocking the migration, there might be some network challenges. So we have to kind of when you are submitting the business case, we should automatically start doing some kind of POC and pilot to understand the complications and to avoid any last minute surprises. Okay, so generally we go and do a people think that POC is primarily for checking whether the VM will be getting migrated, or whether the VM is getting migrated. Not just that alone. Okay, the people are trying to understand what are the processes that is involved, how do we kind of get a network exception, or how do we talk to a network security team to create some firewall rules, what are the blockers and all those things, right? So we have to kind of document a lot of different things. And some companies, they have some toolkit. Okay, when I say toolkit, they will create a migration dashboard. It can be as simple as a Excel pivot table, or it can be like some kind of workload assessment and migration engine, or there are some different toolkits different companies will create. Okay, and this toolkit, what it will have is, I'll tell you like what are the different information this toolkit will have, and how they create it. Okay, and this is primarily for tracking and optimizing the migration workload. Okay, in order to track which are the systems getting migrated, what is the performance after migration, whether we need to go and resize it or optimize it. So all those things can be evaluated in the migration dashboard or the WAMI toolkit. Okay, so what I'm trying to convey here is, okay, migration is not just about tools. Okay, on top of that, even people, methodology, processes, these all things, it plays a very major role. Because like I would say, like for example, if you don't have the proper change management approval, or if you're not looking at the proper maintenance windows, and there might be some change freeze calendar for the customer, right? So you have to go and look at all different aspects. You have to inform the right stakeholders. Okay, if you're not telling the application owners, or if you're not informing them upfront, even they cannot do anything. Okay, so they will not approve the changes, or they will not allow the activity to happen. So you have to keep the right level of stakeholders or the application owners involved, and also you need to have the support teams ready. When I say support teams, migration cannot be successful just with migration engineer. We need support from the Wintel engineer or the Unix engineer, whoever is managing the source environment. We need to have some kind of support from them. If in case the agent is not installing properly, or if there are any some special handling that is there, we need to work hand in hand with the support team which is managing that. And many of you know, right, many of you might have created change request and all those things. If you don't have a proper test plan, if you don't have a proper backout plan, or if you don't have a proper rollback plan and all those things, they are not going to approve it. Okay, we need to kind of do a lot of different homework before we do the actual activity. Okay, so processes and methodology is very, very important. And also, like, customer is not going to approve if they are not finding enough benefits, or if they are not realizing the benefits out of this migration. Even you are not going to start the migration. So these four things you have to kind of understand little more. I'll explain few more things. I don't want to drag the session with a lot of theory. Okay, let's also do some activities in parallel. Okay, this is more into the implementation thing, right? So here, so once after I create the project, now the project is ready. Okay, so Azure Migration Project 1 is ready. Now you can go and discover your environment. Okay, either it can be a on-premises environment, or it can be a different cloud environment. You can do it, and there are two ways to do it. Okay, if you have a option, if the customer allows you to do a import, or going and installing an agent on the vCenter system, or a kind of on-premises system, then you can get directly connected information flowing in. Okay, you can go and start discovering, and you can just start getting the data. Not all the companies will allow it. Okay, so some of the companies, they will tell, I can provide you the information in a Excel format or a CSV format. I can give you the complete inventory, or the CMDB, configuration management database, to you. You can try and use that. Okay, so for example, you can go and create an appliance. If the customer allows you to go and deploy a VM to discover the information, you can go and deploy this appliance. Or you can also import all the server related information in an Excel format, and you can start doing the discovery activity. Okay, so let us click on discover. So you have two options. Okay, you can just go and select whether I'm going to create an appliance for VMware environment, or whether I'm going to create it for Hyper-V, or whether I'm going to do it for some AWS, or whatever it is. Okay, so today's practical, we'll be seeing about the physical, or the AWS option. Okay, I'll show you step by step on how to do this. So the migration appliance is nothing but the configuration server which I'm talking about. Okay, so you need an appliance to discover the data. Okay, either it is a VMware environment, or a Hyper-V environment, or a AWS or GCP, or a different cloud. We need to have a source appliance. Okay, so different appliance will be available when you choose the hypervisor type. If you choose VMware, they will provide this 12 GB OVA file or the zip file, and you can go and download this appliance, and you can create a VM using this OVA file, or you have to import the OVA file to create the VM in your on-premises vCenter. So once you deploy that, that appliance will go and gather all the information from the vCenter, and it will start populating the Azure migration project. That is one way of doing it. Or if you already have some CMDB information in an Excel file, you can also go and do it. So you have this template here. You can download the CSV file and you can provide it to the customer. So the customer or whoever the support team is, whoever managing the source environment, they will have to fill in this information. Okay, so I've downloaded this file. I've populated maybe just some examples in let me see. I thought I had one sample example. Okay. One second, guys. Let me try to reshare my screen. Okay. Sorry, I did not stop my sharing, right? It's still okay. So I had a file. Okay, I had Azure Migrate. You guys are still able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, yes, can.
Okay, fine. So this is the template that I have to download it from here. Okay, if I click on this download, I'll get the Azure Migrate import template. And what that file has got is, it has got some few line items which is filled. Okay, let me open that file shortly, quickly, then you will understand it. Azure Migrate template populated. Okay. So this is the information that I filled in. Okay, it's not very detailed information, but still, like, it has got whatever information possible. So there are few mandatory fields which you have to fill in. Okay, like the server name, whether it is a Windows server or a Linux server, what kind of operating system we have, and all those things. I've just purposefully added a couple of systems like Windows 2003 and Oracle Linux 7 and all those things. And also I've given the virtual CPU memory details from the on-prem, and some usage details also you can fill in. These are all not mandatory, but these fields, the star, the ones with asterisk, the first four fields, not the IP address, is also not mandatory. Okay, server name, core, memory, and OS name. These are the four mandatory fields we need actually in order to start with the discovery or assessment activity. Okay, so I have that information now, and I'm going to import it. Okay, it will go and fetch all the files, and it will start importing the content which is there in the Excel sheet. So this is a manual way of doing things. And in another way, like, you can, if the customer allows you to create an appliance, that appliance will send all the data to the migration project here automatically. Okay, you don't have to manually import it. So there are two ways. Okay, but on the other side, the discovery using the appliance, it depends, the appliance is dependent on what kind of source environment you are migrating from. If you have a SCVMM or a kind of Hyper-V environment, then the appliance is little different. For a VMware environment, it is little different. And even for a third-party cloud, you have to deploy a different appliance. So I'll show you the third-party appliance in demo now. And if someone has a VMware home lab, we can also install this appliance, and I can show you how that works also. Okay, the appliance discovery is very straightforward. Only the migration will take a lot of time if you're doing it from home to Azure platform. So the migrate project import is already successful. I can go and check that now. Okay, so it's uploading the file. The discovery completed. Now I can go to the actual resource. Okay, let us go to the Azure Migrate. Let us go to the project. Okay, let us select this project, and you can see that now it is starting to show some information. Discovery is in progress here. Okay, it should discover the systems that we have imported. Okay, let's wait for this to complete. Okay, this is step one. Okay, the discovery is the step one, and the second step is something. There is a tool available now from Microsoft, which is called dependency analysis. This is mainly to understand whatever the systems that we have discovered, whether it has got some dependency with any. For example, if you have a web server, whether it is connected to multiple database servers, or whether it has got dependency with some application server, whether any two different servers are talking to each other. So that kind of information will be you will be getting a map using the dependency analysis. But now we have imported the information, and you can see that total of 10 servers has got discovered. These are the 10 systems which they are referring to. Okay, we have got 10 systems that are discovered, and out of which 7 of them are Windows. Okay, so 7 of them are Windows, and one is Red Hat Linux, and one is unknown. Okay, so I'm not sure which is unknown here. Okay, maybe Oracle Linux or whatever. No, okay, I think they are referring to something else. So if you look at here, we have the 10 system that is discovered now, and you can just go and do a assessment now. Okay, so let's try and click this. So you will find the same information that we have kind of added. Okay, whatever it is in the Excel sheet, so all those information has got populated now here. Okay, so these are the information. So the Windows VMs, the Linux VMs, and their size, and how many disks they have. So all those information has got filled in now. So you can go and create an assessment project. Okay, so assessment type is, it is going to be, I'm going to migrate it to Azure VM. If you want to migrate it to Azure VMware solution, you have to select this option, but I'm going to select Azure VM. So in order to go for Azure VMware solution, that is a different stuff. I'm not sure how many of you have seen that. Okay, we can also have VMware on Azure now. Okay, let me show you quickly, but you cannot not every customer or not every free trial customer can do it. They will take at least 4 to 5 days to create the VMware server, okay, or VMware host. Okay, you can click on Azure VMware solution, and you can go and request for VMware software defined data center on Azure. Okay, so that what this particular stuff will give you is they will take minimum of 5 business days. If you are an enterprise agreement customer, they will take minimum 5 days to create the host. Okay, so when I say host, they will be creating, like if you need 10 ESXi host, they will go and create 10 ESXi host, and you have to just give the name and number and all those things, and they will automatically start creating a VMware solution, VMware private cloud solution within Azure platform. So if you are planning to migrate it to that particular thing, you have to select Azure VMware solution. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and migrate it to Azure VM, Azure Virtual Machine. This is Hyper-V based solution that we have been discussing so far, right? But we also have a different option also. Like you can also have a VMware private cloud on Microsoft Azure platform. So I'm going to discover the imported servers here and click on next. And which location we are trying? Oh, the target is West US. Huh? How come it got selected? Maybe I created the project in West US too. Anyways, fine, that's fine. So I'm going to give it an assessment name, on-prem to on-prem servers. Okay, I can just select a new group, or you can also go and select an existing group. There is no existing group here. I'll go and create a new group. This is on-prem VM. And I can go and select the list of systems. Okay, one second, guys. Previous. I will go and choose East US. No reserved instance. You can just say select all. Sometimes it will take a few minutes to populate. Okay, let's wait for some time, or else let's do one thing. First, we'll create a group. on-prem VM. Okay, it will take some time here. Okay, guys, let's do it after maybe a couple of minutes. It'll take some time. So let's see. It's still not coming up. Okay, let's do it after maybe few minutes. Okay, so it will take some time to populate the systems. So first step is you have to go and discover the system. Either you can discover the on-premises environment using an appliance, or you can also do it in an offline way by getting the details from the source support team or the on-prem support team. You have to ask them to fill in an Excel sheet, and once they provide it, you can go and import all the data. So that will be available um, in the format that we are talking about. So when you talk about tools, okay, there are more than one tools. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the justification.
Stand behind, not able to hear you.
Okay, there was some small network glitch. Okay, so I was asking about what are the business drivers that will convince the customer, because like it's not about migrate. First step is not about migration, right? We have to go and convince the customer. We need to create a strong business case, and we need to create a kind of measurement criteria on what is the outcome that as a service provider, as a managed services provider, what we are going to provide the customer in terms of benefit. What is the benefit that they are going to get as part of this migration? What are the things that you generally discuss? Any inputs? Like which particular customer is a strong use case for coming to cloud or migrating to cloud? Any idea? Okay, so when you guys are hearing me, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Then, okay, so when you have a customer who need to have a technology refresh done, for example, they might have a lot of end of life operating system, they might have a lot of end of life hardware, or their application is kind of consuming a lot of like traditional stuff. Software licensing is kind of having a lot of issues, and things are coming for renewal. Okay, software renewal or contract renewal. They want to get rid of some high cost software solution. Even for example, if you take a monitoring software solution, even that is very high costly. Okay, like for example, New Relic, Dynatrace, and all those things, even those single software solution also will end up in thousands of dollars. Okay, so technology refresh, if a customer is looking for doing some refreshment in their data center, their hardware is coming to end of life, or operating system is coming to end of life, and they want to kind of revamp and kind of do a modernization of their data center environment, then that customer is kind of will be very interested to get all their workload to the latest operating system or the latest virtualization platform. And some customers might be looking for changing the vendor. Okay, so they might be having some challenges with the existing vendor, and there might be some contractual issues, or whatever the support that they are providing, the customers might not be very happy about. And there might be some data center exit also. Okay, so some customers might want to get out of the data center. They are spending a lot of cost in managing and maintaining the data center, and it is kind of it's kind of eating a lot of cost, and they want to do a data center modernization, and they want to have the cloud related benefits. For example, the capacity, the elasticity, availability, better availability, and all those things, right? So if you talk about improving the availability or disaster recovery strategy, then definitely if you come to the cloud, by default, any cloud platform, they start providing you multiple data centers or multiple availability zone in order to scatter your application workload into different availability zone, right? Whereas in your on-premises, you'll have to create one more data center in order to get that kind of availability SLAs. So some customers will be talking about they are very often running out of capacity and they don't have the SLA that they are looking for. They have the legacy hardware. They want to do a data center modernization. Even they want to do some kind of application modernization also. So that is also one important discussion that you'll get to understand from customer. So customer would like to change their traditional application into maybe a software as a service or a PaaS offering. So these are the major 5 use cases that the customers will talk about, but they might not talk about these areas directly. They will say that they have a lot of cost, they are spending a lot of cost in maintenance of the data center or the equipment, hardware, server hardware, the OS patching, and all those things. They're spending a lot of cost. They are spending a lot of cost in management, and they are also having a lot of performance issue. The performance issue might be at the storage hardware level, or like you have to understand, you have to talk to the customer, and you have to understand that they don't have a proper storage tiering mechanism. They are putting all different contents into one single SAN storage. For example, the archive data, the backup data, and the production data, the test data, everything will be put onto one single SAN. They might not have a different tier for different application workload or the actual workload. And also customers will be complaining about their legacy application technologies, and also they want to have better uptime. That is what we are talking about, SLA and all, right? So they want to have better uptime. They might request for better SLA. They want to have better security and all those things. So customer will talk in their terms, and you have to kind of group them into the 5 major grouping here. Okay, so you have to tell like when you come to the cloud, so you get by default, you get better availability, better storage tiering. You also get much better performance. So all those things, you have to kind of group them into these 5 things. So when you create a business case or when you create a justification, so the stakeholders will be at a very high level position. Okay, the organization's leadership team will be looking at this data. You cannot go and put a lot of technical things there, but instead you have to show the justification, what are the likely advantages that they are going to get as part of the transformation. So the stakeholders will be a kind of CEO or a kind of product owner or a IT director or that level of people. Okay, so they will have a very greatest stake in the IT landscape. So when you are presenting to them, you have to just group them into few buckets, and then you have to show them the business outcome. So when the business outcome is very concise, defined, and observable, so you have to tell, like they will ask you after 6 months of migration, what is the measurement criteria, what is the success criteria that you guys are going to show me, like whether the performance will get increased, whether the availability will get changed, whether I'm going to save some cost after the migration. So we have to show you have to build the use cases after 6 months. What are the success criteria, whether the availability is going to change from 99 to 99.99, whether they are going to get on demand storage capacity, whether they are going to get improvements in their performance for their application systems or whatever it is, right? So we have to go and define the business outcome very clearly. Okay, so business plan is different, business outcome is different. So business outcome will have the success measurement criteria. Okay, so how we are going to showcase after 6 months, what are the advantages that the customer has got. Okay, so that is something which we have to showcase. It might be like many points with whatever we have discussed at the beginning of the session on day one, like time to market, availability, the agility, the capacity, the flexibility, all those things you can showcase. But for the specific customer, you have to map what are the challenges they highlighted. They might have highlighted, I'm not getting the same, better SLA, my uptime is not that good, my security options are very less, and you have to capture all the customer pain points, and you have to map the success factor around it. Okay, then only customer will understand. You have to capture the key performance indicators or the key performance uh, data on what exactly customer is talking about, where exactly their challenges are, and you have to show the desired outcome after the actual migration. Okay, so it's not just about these are all something like which the solution architect or a senior person has to take care of. Maybe if you are having very less experience and you are concentrating on just implementation and migration, so you can just focus only on the actual migration. Even the assessment and all will be done by the senior people like solution architect and so on. But just try to understand how the solution architects will work when it comes to a particular deal. Okay, so you have to work hand in hand with the pre-sales team, and we have to tell them that these are the advantages we have, these are the success factors when you are operating out of the cloud, and when you deploy workload to the cloud, these are the advantages in terms of monitoring, management, operations, and all those things, security, all kind of stuff. Okay, so then we get to understand, then we discuss on the timelines. Okay, so after we provide the business plan or the business outcome, the stakeholder will ask like how much cost and how much time it is going to take. Okay, and that all depends on the various factors we have. Okay, so the timelines will depend on a lot of different factors. So when I say timelines, the timeline will be dependent on how much asset we are going to migrate, how much infrastructure is involved, how much application is involved, how much data we need to copy to the cloud, how much new diversity of application we need to migrate. So in general, any migration can span from minimum of 3 to 6 months, and it might go from 1 year, 2 year times also. Okay, it depends on how many different type of asset, the diversity and the number of asset, the amount or maybe number, and the different diversity. Some companies might have SAP workload, some company might have NetApp storage, some companies might have different kind of tailor-made applications. So it depends on customer to customer. You cannot just say blindly that we can migrate in 3 months or 6 months. Some customer environment might be very complicated because they might have a lot of homegrown applications, and we need to understand the staff readiness. Okay, so whether we have the right skilled people available to do the migration in a quicker way. So these things are very important factors, the staff readiness. So whether our staff is ready to go and do a discovery analysis and manage the new environment very quickly, whether they need some kind of training or all those things, the staff readiness is very important. The training aspect, the migration aspect, and when we say staff readiness, it's not just about the staff is going to do the migration. The migration engineers, the migration architect is one side, and on the other side, we also need to have the right skilled operations team. Okay, so if you're migrating some different applications, we also need to have the set of operations team who can manage that environment. And definitely like funding plays a very major role. Okay, because we need to get approval from different business unit, different stakeholder has to approve. Okay, so the approval and the budgeting is also plays a very major role. Okay, so this will also delay the timeline. If the funding is not coming from a particular business unit or certain applications we cannot migrate, it will also go and delay things. Also, you have to have change management hand in hand. When I say change management, whether the customer has got some freeze window, some customers will not allow you to do a migration on uh, March month because of their year-end closure. Some people they might not allow you to do during the summer vacation, or during the year-end during the Christmas time, they will have a complete freeze of it. So you have to take all the change freeze calendar, and you have to just understand what are the different activities that are planned in parallel. You cannot go and do a major important change when customer has got a DR activity or a major business application activity or whatever it is, right? They will not approve both the activities to happen simultaneous. They want to understand what has caused a specific issue, right? So the change management team, they will not approve it. So you have to understand what are the different things that the customer is planning, whether they have some DR activity or any business application coming live on a particular weekend. So you have to take all those factors before you design the change implementation plan. So you have to the change management, you have to work hand in hand with them. And you also have to understand the compliancy requirement, what kind of compliancy the customer is looking at, whether they want to migrate the data through the internet, or whether we should create a VPN, or whether we should have a direct connect circuit, or we call it as express route in Azure, right? So whether we need to have an express route in place to do the migration, even that will delay the kind of migration. So you need to understand the customers different segment regulations might have different industry requirement. So they will not allow you to migrate over the internet. They definitely need a VPN solution or a express route solution before you can start the migration. So those compliancy things has to be understood. So if you understand these things, then you can give the timeline to them. Some people will say, like, based on the server count, like if they give you like 200 servers, some people will say I can migrate it in 2 months or 3 months. It's not the case actually. So in some cases, you might not have approval to do activities in 3 weeks because of the change freeze or whatever it is. And maybe the funding has to come. You have to pay for your migration engineers and architects, and you have to kind of understand what is their compliancy requirement. Okay, so a lot of different things has to be reviewed hand in hand with the project managers or the program managers, and we can define the timeline. And even before doing all these things, as I said, we have to do a POC or pilot to understand what are the complications with that particular customer environment. We also have to do a kind of deep dive discovery and assessment to understand what kind of different applications that they have, how they interconnect between each other, whether they are any dependency analysis, and all those things has to be done. Okay, so we are already like 1 hour on the clock. Maybe we can just start some practical in parallel, because this practical will take at least 2 to 3 hours minimum. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's try to see whether this machine is online. Okay, so the larger machine is online now. Okay, I'll just connect to this first. Oh, no. This is AWS, right? We have to go and generate the password. AWS North Virginia, May 2021. So this is the password. Okay. So if you want to change the name, you can change it for better identification. Okay, let's see. So we have a mix of people here, right? We have people with a lot of experience. We have people with less experience, and we have to cater implementation experience as well as some theoretical information. Okay, so whatever theoretical information, maybe that might not be very useful for less experienced people with less than 8 years or 6 years of experience. You don't have to focus too much on the theoretical part. Just see how I'm doing the practical and all those things. It will help you to become a migration engineer. Okay, so for people who want to become a migration architect, they need to understand all the different things that we are discussing today. Okay, so let me go and change the system name here. So this is kind of an appliance or a VM that I'm going to use for migrating the workload. Okay, so let me go and prepare this VM quickly. And I will also check whether I have changed the space, because this VM is also going to act as the intermediate server to migrate the content from the source machine to Azure platform. So whatever we have changed, it's still not reflecting. It's only showing 30 GB. So I'll go and expand the capacity. Okay, it's available now. I will also go and okay. So this is then hypervisor AWS. Okay, so what is on still? Okay, everything is off. Then why it is showing on? Let me refresh. Okay, fine. So let's go and rename the server. Okay, let's quickly do that. So what is the name that I gave? Config svr1. So we don't have to have it in a domain, okay? But if you have a domain environment, you can add the server to the domain as well, so that it will simplify certain things. Okay, let me restart it. And similarly, we can go to the other VM which we are going to migrate. I will say AWS, maybe web server 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. I'm just looking at the count to make sure we have the net bias limitation taken care of. So we'll prepare this machine as a kind of web server with some folders and files, and we can migrate it. Okay, go and generate the password. We use the same key. AWS North Virginia. Did I select the same file? AWS North Virginia. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is the password for the second system. For my AWS web server 1. This is the password for my configuration server. Okay, I'll also go and quickly change the name for this, our host name for this. Okay. So team, like there are a lot of opportunities are coming in for AWS, Azure, Google. Okay. So now is the time. If you're putting a lot of effort from your side, you can get a better opportunity to work on cloud immediately. There are hundreds of opportunity with the company that I'm working for, and also I get at least 3 to 4 calls from my friends who need employees who are kind of skilled in AWS, Azure, or they want to take some people. Okay, so if you are prepared and if you are already confident, let me know. I can recommend, and we can just quickly enable interviews and kind of get you into a better cloud support team. Okay, practice as much as possible. I'm seeing a lot of people are completing the certification. I'm getting to know that, which is very good. Okay, this week also, I think more than 10 people completed the certification from morning and evening batch. So keep learning, keep practicing. Okay, there are a lot of opportunities. Okay, close this. Can we shrink the volume in OS drive in a Windows server? With 2019, can we go and directly shrink the volume?
Yes, done. We can.
Yes, yes,
Oh, we
yes.
can, huh? Okay, okay. Let me do that, because like if I have more space or more capacity to migrate, then it is going to take a lot of time. And let me copy this. So this has got 30 GB capacity, right? I want to eliminate that. Okay, it may be rebooting. So meanwhile, I'm not sure what kind of security I allowed, whether I just allowed only 22 port or whatever. Okay, I might have allowed only 3389 for remote desktop. Maybe I can just go and check the port and allow. It mainly needs 443, okay, for the rules. Okay, but let me allow the all traffic for this particular example. Okay, let me delete this. I'll just allow all traffic. This is just the lab environment, right? But in real world, you have to just allow only 443 and 3389. Okay, so here, I've got too many. This has got launch wizard 3, and how about this server? Okay, same only, right? Okay, fine. So let me log into this VM. Okay, it is taking some time. So maybe we'll also log into the other server which we rebooted a little while back. Okay, so the configuration server, will go and prepare that first. So we'll log into the Azure portal directly. I'll better install Google Chrome. Okay. So, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to register this appliance or the configuration server to Microsoft portal. I'll log in with my ID. Okay. So once after I log in, for the actual migration, okay, what you can do is you can use the Azure Site Recovery tool, or you can also do it from the Migrate also. But I have not discovered anything as of now from the AWS environment. So what I'll do is I'll just go to the site recovery first. Okay, within the site recovery services vault, you'll have two options. I'll create a new vault. Okay, I will say this is for migration. Okay, I'll review and create it. So as most of you know, within the recovery services vault, we have two options. One option is to take backup and the other option is to do a site recovery or a kind of migration. Okay, go to the resource. So I'll have to go, I'm going to enable site recovery now. So if I click on this, it is going to ask me whether I want to move from Azure Virtual Machine or VMware Merchant Azure or what exactly I'm planning to do here. So I can just go and select prepare infrastructure. Okay. Or yeah, I'll just go and say prepare infrastructure. So it is asking me whether I've done the deployment planning. Okay, so let me see one option here. So go to site recovery. Nowadays, they're not even giving option to select the source. Okay, let's go to site recovery and we'll start from the getting started option. Okay, there is no VM, right? Interesting. So let us select this only. Okay, let's go with prepare. I will say like I've run the deployment planner. The deployment planner is to understand whether you have the adequate network bandwidth and all those things. It will go and check whether you have the enough capacity and other requirements. It will be checking. Okay, this is the tool that Microsoft provides for doing a deployment planning. Before you go and deploy the appliance, okay, this is the first tool that you have to do, the deployment planner tool. Okay, so this will help you to analyze whether you have the estimated network bandwidth and all those things. So if you have installed it and verified it, you can just go and say, yes, I have done that. And you can just click on next. So here it will ask whether you already have an existing configuration server. No, I don't have it. And it is asking whether my machines are virtualized. I'll have to say no, because I'm going to do it from AWS platform. If I'm doing it from VMware platform or Hyper-V, then I need to give the vCenter name. If I'm saying yes, I have to give the vCenter name. I don't have the vCenter name. So what I will say is, I will say my machines are not virtualized, but in reality, they are all virtualized in AWS cloud. Okay, I'll have to go and choose the add configuration server option here. And it will ask me to have at least minimum of 2012 R2 or 2016. This is the minimum that I need to have for the configuration server. But I have already 2019, so which should be fine. Okay, I'll have to download this particular Azure Site Recovery Unified Setup. Okay, I'll go and download it. And if your download is not working, you have to go and verify whether your proxy is allowing this service URL. Okay, so that might also block sometimes. Okay, we might have to check that, but I think the stuff will be available whether it is downloaded. It's taking a lot of time. Okay, this is a tool that we need to install it in the source environment for doing the actual migration. The network is very slow. Okay, it's downloading. It's 2 GB file, okay, but it should work quickly. Okay, it will take 1 minute to download the 2 GB content. So once you download the Azure Site Recovery Setup, you can go and install it on the source machine. Okay, let this happen. Meanwhile, I'll go and install the web services role. I'll create a couple of folders and all those things in the source machine, which I'm planning to migrate. Okay, this download is completed. I'll go and run this. And close this now. So I will install the web services role on the source web server. Okay, let that run. Meanwhile, we can also try and install the unified setup on the configuration server. So I am doing 2 different things. Okay, so what happened? So this is on config server 1. One second, guys. I don't know what I did here. I'll go to the file explorer. Okay, it's opening up, right? Okay. So this is the screen you will get once after you download the setup and when you run it. So it will start the Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Unified Setup. So I'm doing it on which server? Config server 1. Okay, I'm doing it on this machine. And I'm going to install the configuration and process server. If you are going to do a large scale migration, if you have thousands of server to migrate, you might need to have more process server. Process server will process the data from the source to the destination. So if you have 10 VMs or whatever it is, so one server can act as a configuration server, and also it can process the data from source to destination. Okay, so you need to have more process server if you have thousands of machines to migrate, because one server cannot hold all the load. Okay, if you have maybe even if you have more than 50 servers also, it is better to create 2 process server, and for every 30 workloads you can create more process server so that you can do simultaneous migration and concurrent replication. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to first install this machine with the configuration role and the process role. Okay, I have to accept the license agreement. It is going to download the Microsoft community server, or not Microsoft, MySQL community server for database. Okay, the configuration server will have MySQL database to hold the configuration of the source system that we are planning to migrate. It is going to act as a repository. Okay, this is going to get installed, MySQL community edition, and it will ask for the registration key. I have to register this particular configuration server to the Azure platform. In order to do that, I have to download this Vault registration key. This is the same thing which we did for the backup class also, right? It downloaded a Vault credential file. Similarly, here it is again key-based authentication. I have to download this Vault credential key and I have to select that key here in order to register this AWS, the configuration server. Okay, I can select this and it will fetch the details of the recovery services vault. Okay, so now what it is going to do now is, as part of the installation on the Azure platform, you can go and check that we have a recovery services vault which was just created. What's happening? Okay, so here under the migration vault 1, so as of now we might not have any systems here. Okay, as of now, if you go and look at the site recovery infrastructure, there will not be any configuration server here. So whatever we are trying to add now, it will be getting populated into this location. So after we install the configuration role, whatever VM that we are installing that role, those VMs will be listed under the configuration service. Okay, we'll verify it shortly. Okay, so it is saying like, even though I have a lot of CPU, it is asking minimum I need 8 core CPU for better performance. It is saying I'm only having 2 core CPU, but in production environment, when you do the actual migration, you should have at least 8 core, 8 CPU, or maybe more than that, to have a quicker replication. Okay, this is just a warning. Okay, we can ignore it for now. And it is saying I have given 150 GB, but still it is asking for 600 GB of space, because you might have more than one VM getting migrated simultaneously, right? You need a lot of capacity to store the caching information from the actual source server to the destination. This will act as a caching server also, or a in-between server, right? So you need a lot of space for that. And you need to have a static IP address for your configuration server. That is the best practice for any server environment, right? So, but here I can just go and skip this warning. Okay, I can go and install the configuration role. It is asking for a password for my MySQL database. Okay, whether it is asking whether I want to protect VMware virtual machine. No, I don't want to protect VMware virtual machine. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to protect my AWS VM, which is running on Zen hypervisor. Okay, if you are doing it for your VMware environment, you have to select yes for here. Okay, and I can just go and click next. And it is asking which network interface is going to be used for replication. In some of the company, they will have a standard for different network requirement. For replication, they will have a different VLAN and IP address for on the network system, I mean on the server. Here I'm going to use the same network card for replication and all different things. But in production environment, some companies might have a different replication VLAN and different production VLAN. They don't want to impact the production activity that is happening in that VLAN or network. So they want to isolate the replication traffic to a separate VLAN. So you'll have to select that particular IP address if you have assigned a replication network interface. Okay, but here I did not create anything differently. So you have to make sure that 9443 and the 443 port is actually open on the source and destination environment. Okay, so this is the port number that we'll be using for replication. Okay, 9443. And I can just go and install the configuration tool. Okay, it will take some time to install this tool. It will download the MySQL and it will configure the IAS and all those things. Okay, while that is happening, we'll also go and check the other server where we are installing the IaaS. Okay, so we have installed this IaaS role. We can go and make some modification. Okay, we are going to migrate from, this is the AWS server, and we are migrating to Azure, right? Okay, just for identification, I'm just writing something here. I'll just close this. Okay, and let me quickly try the disk shrink option, because if I have 30 GB, it will take more time to replicate. So the usage is 48 already. Okay, it is already using 15 GB. Okay, even though I think we can shrink it, but let's see. Let's try to reduce at least 5 GB capacity. So that the replication time will be a little quicker. If I have less size to replicate, the replication will complete fast. Okay, it says enter the amount of space to shrink in MB. Total size after. Okay, I'll say I want to reduce maybe 5000 MB. So this will change to 25718. Let's try it. How interesting. Okay, so it works online. So now we have only 25 GB capacity which we need to replicate. Otherwise it might have replicated 30 GB, but even you should not go beyond that, because if you have less than 20% free space, the content has to be replicated from this server also. You need some free space, you need some caching space on the source server also. So you should not have, so the best practice for a migration, the source server should have at least 20% free capacity. Okay, so don't go and shrink it to 15 GB or something like that. Okay, so this is fine. So 25 GB is fine. Instead of 30, at least we can save some time there. 20 to 30% faster it will complete. So this is AWS web server. So this is getting installed. Okay, let's go and quickly discuss few more things on the migration activities. Okay, so the very first thing, as I said, we go and do a discovery and analysis, right? So during the discovery and analysis phase or assessment phase, many companies will be using the maps tool. Okay, I'm not sure how many of them are still using it. There is a tool called Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit. This can be a downloadable, separate downloadable file which you can go and download and install it in your source location, and it will give you a lot of details on what are the different systems we have, what is the complication in getting that migrated, all those things. But now Azure Migrate portal itself has got its own native assessment option. Either you can use this, or you can also, if you want to do it offline and get some detailed report, you can also go and download this maps toolkit and you can install it. Recent days, a lot of companies are shifting towards different tools, like third-party tools. When I say third-party tools, we have tools like Cloudscape. Cloudscape has got a tool called like not Cloudscape is the tool, but the vendor is Risk Network. So Risk Network provides a tool called Cloudscape, and similarly there is a company called Science Logic. Okay, they provide a tool called Cloud Mapper. Okay, these are all very good tools for doing a discovery, assessment, and analysis. Okay, so these are very good tools, and during my other classes, I used to talk about Device 42 also. It is a very good tool that many companies are using for migration, assessment, and planning. Okay, I used to recommend to attend that session also. There is a Device 42 seminar or webinar that happens every Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, if you whenever you get time, you go and attend it. These two sessions are very good session. Okay, it is just 30 minutes to 1 hour they will spend on how to do a discovery and assessment, how to use this tool for understanding the application communication, root cause analysis, auditing the software, what are the things that are pending for renewal. So you can just go and it's a free thing. Okay, you can just go and sign up, and they have two sessions. Okay, one session on Wednesday and one session on Thursday. It will be like only 1 hour session. Okay, you can go and select whenever you are free. You can go and select a specific date, and you can attend this particular free webinar. Okay, it gives you a lot of information about how to do a discovery, analysis, assessment, and all those things. This is the number one tool in the current market, Device 42. This is the free webinar that you can attend every Wednesday and Thursday. They have this. Wednesday they will have the first level session. Thursday they will have the advanced session. Okay, go and attend this Device 42 tool. It is an equivalent tool. Okay, I'm not recommending this tool over Microsoft Azure Migrate, but this will provide a lot of additional information also. If you're having a lot of application which is traditional, if you have both mixture of VMware, Hyper-V, and different third-party OpenStack cloud or private cloud environment, even Device 42 will get a lot of details around it. Okay, attend these two sessions. It will give you more information on how to do a proper discovery and assessment for a particular environment. Okay, so there are many tools. Okay, so these are all competitors: Cloudscape, Cloud Mapper, Device 42, Maps, and Azure Migrate. They are all competitors. And beyond that, I have some recommendation. Okay, so in the past, whenever I want to migrate some VMware workload, I have used a tool called Cloudamize. Okay, which is a very good tool to do a discovery and analysis if your source environment is VMware. If you are having a Hyper-V environment, then I generally prefer to use Atadata. Okay, there are different tools available for different environment. So these are all mainly for what? Assessment activity. Okay, but the primary option that you should prefer is Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate should be your first choice option. But if you have some complex workload, or if you have some Unix environment, private cloud environment, then Azure Migrate has a lot of challenges. Okay, and these tools, like they work on different Unix platform, Linux platform, and it works on a lot of different technologies also, application level and stuff. So if you ask me like whether there are any other tools for assessment, yeah, there are many other tools that is available, but just try to use Azure Migrate as the first choice option, and the other tools you can go and prefer if you have a wide variety of environment. So these days I'm seeing Turbonomics is getting a lot of fact, and Movier is one another tool. Unify Cloud is a very better tool. Okay, so there are more than 20-30 different tools. But if you have maybe like for Movier, if you have a Citrix environment, or if you have a VDI environment, or if you have a lot of workstations or desktop that needs to be migrated, then I would prefer to go and use Movier tool. Okay, that gives you a lot of even Zen hypervisor also, like AWS or Zen environment. You can use the Movier tool. Turbonomics is again more for VMware environment. And similarly, you can also use the VMware native vRealize Insight and those products also. Okay, so there are these many tools. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different tools are there. You can pick and choose. These are the top 10 tools. Okay, out of the hundreds of tools that are available for assessment activity, for discovering the source environment and doing an assessment. These tools can be used, but for actual migration, the tools are different. Okay, not all these tools will help you with migration. Only a few tools can help you with migration. For migration activity, you can again prefer Azure Migrate. That should be your first choice option. But on top of that, you can also go and use tools like what we call like Cloudamize or Turbonomics, or not Turbonomics, Zerto, or Platespin. Or there are many different tools that are available for actual migration. But first choice should be your Azure Migrate. Okay, so Device 42 cannot be used for migration. Turbonomics cannot be used for migration, but some tools like Atadata, Cloudamize, Movier, these tools can also be used for migration also. Okay, so there are certain tools which you can use for migration, discovery, assessment, and migration. Certain tools you can use it for only migration purpose and stuff. Go ahead if there is a question. Okay, some people rejoined without unmuting. Huh? Okay, let me just mute the line. Okay. So, right, there are other tools also, like River Meadow is there for replication. We have Carbonite. There are many tools available in the market, but Azure Migrate is a single tool for doing all the different activities: discovery, assessment, migration, optimization, security. All things can be done using Azure Migrate. But for specific use cases, we might need to use third-party tools. Okay, so let us go and check where we are with the installation. We're still installing. It will take some time. Okay, this VM is also ready with the website. Okay, so one more thing that will decide the migration tool or the actual tool for migration is whether it is agent or agentless. Because some company will not allow you to install any agent, right? That plays a very, very important role. Okay, so Azure Migrate can be agent or agentless, and similarly your current technologies. There is one more tool. Okay, it's a very good tool actually. So current technology, I don't know how I missed it. It can be used for analysis, assessment also. Okay, that is also supported. Either you can go and install the agent, or without agent also you can migrate it. Device 42 is very famous because of the nature of the stuff. It is agentless. You don't need to install any agent, but it's mainly used for discovery and analysis and monitoring purpose only. It cannot be used for migration. But Unify Cloud and other things, you can use it for actual migration. It's all again agent or agentless. Turbonomics is always agentless. Okay, that's the beauty of that tool. Okay, so this will also decide which tool we have to use, because many companies nowadays, like, they don't want to install any agent, they want to do it agentless. In some cases you can integrate with your vCenter or your SCVMM tool to gather a lot of information, but the agent will take a major step on whether you have to go for this tool or not. Okay, so let's see where we are, or else we can just go and quickly take some quick break. While this is taking some time, we'll also take some time for taking tea and come back. Any questions before we go for tea break?
And the disk space and the replication requirement, right? Like we need to consider for migration.
Yeah. So I
Is it
will.
for all the servers, like a pre-requirement?
Correct. So there are some prerequisites and best practices. There are more than 20-25 prerequisites and best practices. I'll list them down shortly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it an agent? Okay,
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll continue on this. Okay, and you can see all the installation has got successfully completed. Let me finish the wizard, and it is asking me whether I want to store the connection passphrase. So definitely I have to keep it safely. Okay, do you want to copy the passphrase? I'll copy it. I will have it safely here. This might be needed when you want to kind of troubleshoot any activities or issue. So this passphrase is needed. Okay, let me go and check whether this server is already registered. I can go to the portal under the site recovery infrastructure. See, perfect. So it has just got registered at 11/6/21. Okay, so just now, 20, 30, 40 seconds back, it has got registered. Okay, and it has got the latest agent version also, the config server one. So whatever installation and the credential that we gave, it worked properly, and we should see the server under the configuration server listing. Okay, that is perfect. And what we can do is we can also go and use a service account. In general, we should not use the administrator account. So generally what we can do is we can go and create a separate service account that can be used for the migration activities. Okay, I'll just go and create a service account here. I will say AWS to Azure service account. Okay, you need to create it. If you have an Active Directory environment, then better use that. Okay, go and create the service account in AD so that you don't have to go and create the same account in every single server. Okay, I've just created this account for migration service account. Similarly, whichever server I want to migrate, I have to create the same account there also. If it is Active Directory enabled environment, then you can just create it only in one place, right? So let me just go and create it here also. Okay, so this should have administrator credential. Let us go and add it to administrators, because we might need to install the agent and all those things using the service account. So it definitely need administrators credentials. Similarly, on the other server also, I think I missed adding it to administrator. We can go and do that. If you want to give power users also, that is fine. Okay, so that should be okay, because we just need to install the agents using this account. Okay, now I have done with that. So here I have to go and add the account which I'm going to use as a service account for installing the mobility services agent, and you need an account with administrator credential. So I'll just paste this friendly name. I can use the if you are using a domain account, give the domain / username. I'm not using the domain account, so I'll just give this username here directly. You can create a password. You can also give a separate password, but it's better to give the same password what we used. Okay, let us give okay. So okay, password does not match. Okay, let's try now. This is weird. Oh, I'm not sure. I have some issues with my keyboard in case. Okay, so I've added the service account. So once after you run this and all those stuff, so even if you miss to do that, you will have a exe on the desktop. Okay, like CSCFG, this is the exe. You can just go and run this tool and you can add the service account. So if that pop-up did not open up, you can come to the desktop and you can just run this configuration server, process server, configuration tool. CS means configuration server, PS means process server. So CSPS configuration tool. So here is where you go and register it and all those things. Okay, you can change the language, and if you want to use a different port, okay, some cases like there might be some issues with 9443 VMware environment might be using it or something like that, you can go and change this port. Okay, these are the port which are needed. Okay, just make sure, let's capture it. So even Jairaj was asking about the prerequisite, right? So ports and protocols, free space on the source server, and the configuration process servers. And also we need to have a service account with administrative privilege. Okay, So now going to this particular server, I can just close this and I can try and let's do one thing. So I want to go and start doing the migration. Okay, in order to do that, let me come to the screen. One second, guys. So let me come to the screen. And now automatically, once you are done with all the steps, you can just go and close this add server. Automatically now on the drop down, you should start seeing the configuration server. Okay, if it is not visible, just go one step back and try to come again. Okay, if it is not still visible, go to the home screen and try to do the steps again. Okay, yes, the planning, I've done it. And now you should be able to see that. Are your virtual machine virtualized? No. Interesting. Did we miss any steps? Run the installer, csconfig. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go out of the screen. Let's start from the beginning. It is listing here. Perfect. Now it is listing. Okay. So sometimes like it will take some time to pop up or just get in the drop down list. So you can just go back to the home screen and come back. It should get listed. Okay. This is the configuration server that we are going to use for the migration. And it is asking where exactly I want to migrate the workload. Okay. So it is after the post failover. Okay. So in most of the cases, when you do the prerequisite setup, most of the companies, they will have a test virtual network and a production virtual network. So before switching over to the production environment, they might do a POC kind of thing. Okay, and for the actual failover, they will be using the prod environment. Okay, so you'll have two VNets or two different environment in most of the major environment here. So here I will choose Visual Studio and I'll be using this same VNet. Okay, and it is asking me to create a replication policy. So this is what Jairaj was asking, whether it is going to be a continuous replication or it is going to be a scheduled replication. This is going to be a continuous replication. So I'm going to create a migration or replication policy 1. Replication policy 1. And it is asking me whether this is a source type is VMware or physical machine. I have just selected VMware's physical machine. And where exactly we are going to migrate. I'm going to migrate to Azure. And it is asking me like what kind of recovery point objective that I have. If your application is too sensitive, you can reduce this. But for most of the cases, 60 minutes RPO is fine. Okay, so whatever data that was replicated 60 minutes back, 1 hour back, that should be fine. But if you want to have decrease it, you can go and decrease it. I think the minimum supported is something 20 minutes or something like that. But this will add more network bandwidth. Okay, it will keep on getting replicated. So if you want, if your machine is stateless and it does not have a lot of changes happening, then you can just increase the RPO time so that like you can have 2 hours or 6 hours or something like that. Otherwise, it will keep on replicating the content. And it is asking me how many recovery point retention I want to have for in hours. It is telling me like I want to have 24 different recovery point in place. So it means like if you are doing it for 20 every 20 minutes, then it will have that many number of recovery point. I don't want that many recovery point retention. I just want to have only 10 recovery points. Okay, it is asking me like how frequently I want to take a app consistent snapshot in frequency. Okay, so it is 1 hour, every 1 hour it should take an application consistency snapshot. So it is better to have a 60 second RPO, sorry, 60-minute RPO only. If we are just going for every 1 hour we want to take a snapshot, then we can just give the RPO also same to that. Okay, if you want to reduce this, you have to reduce the application snapshot frequency also. Okay, it is asking me which configuration server I'm going to use for this particular replication. I'm going to select the configuration server one. Okay, so it will go and create a replication policy. So the replication policy can be, you can check and modify it under this window. Let me go here. You can just have the replication policy here. It will be under the same thing. So you can go and modify the replication policy whenever you want to modify it. Whenever you want to modify the RPO, RTO, or any changes to that, you can go and change it. Okay, it's getting created. Okay, once after the policy is created and attached to the configuration server, we will be ready for the actual migration. Okay, it has associated the policy with the configuration server. Also, it is associating the failback replication policy also. You can also do a failback using Azure Migrate. Okay, you can go back to the previous environment also. If in case of any issues or stuff, the rollback is also possible.
So Stan, Rajesh here. So
Yes,
now we
Rajesh.
are migrating from Azure to AWS. So it is only we need to only initiate from where source and designation. For example, we should initiate only from source, or it can be both the way, bi-directional.
Okay, so we are migrating from AWS cloud to Azure cloud. So now it is like from AWS to Azure, and if you want to fail back, you can also fail back. Okay, when I say failover, it will be failing over from AWS to Azure. If you want to fail back to AWS, that is also possible. It is bi-directional. To answer your question, yeah, we are doing from AWS to Azure. Okay, so now, now the replication policy is created. Now I can go and prepare the systems. I can go and start replicating the system now. Okay, I can just go here and manage the recovery plan now. So it is asking me like, what are the systems that I want to go and replicate or migrate? Just go to site recovery. And it is asking me which is the configuration server, and it is asking me whether it is a virtual machine or physical machine. If you have it in a VMware environment, select virtual machine, because if you select virtual machine, it will ask for the vCenter name. Okay, so better go and choose physical machine, and it will ask like whether you have a separate process server or the same process server you can use. So it says like it's in critical state, but because it reached its maximum usage capacity, one of the processor marked healthy or at. Okay, just give it some time. Okay, automatically the critical state of the inbuilt process server will change, but let's see. Yeah, so it is asking me where exactly I want to replicate. If I want to replicate to a different network, you can also select a test network, or if you want to replicate it directly to the production network, you can also do that. Okay, so I can just configure it now itself. I can select the VNet and subnet to which I'm planning to migrate the AWS systems to. Okay, from AWS to Azure. Okay, so this is the resource manager and all those things. So as a prerequisite on the destination, before you start the migration from AWS to Azure, on the Azure side, you need to have a subscription, active subscription. You need to have a resource group. You need to have a VNet. You need to have a storage account. Okay, these are the minimum needed configurations on the destination Azure side. We need to have a subscription active. We need to have a resource group, virtual network, and subnet, plus a storage account. Okay, this is what you have to prepare it on the Azure side. Okay, so we already have all those things. It is asking me like which machine I want to migrate. I can go and say add physical machine, and I can go and copy the IP address of the source machine which I want to migrate, the AWS machine. So this is the web server which I'm planning to migrate. I'm going to copy the private IP address. Since I have the configuration server, I need not give the public IP address. I can just give the private IP address only. Okay, I can just go and copy the server name, AWS Web Server 1. I can put the name of the server and I can select whether it is a Linux or Windows. And you can keep adding as many machines that you want. Okay, you can add all the servers that you want to migrate and you can click OK. And it is going to discover the machine. As part of the discovery process, it will go and install an agent. Okay, let me show you that. So if you go to the source machine, as of now, you will not find any agent. Okay, so you will not find any agent for the Azure mobility services. There will be an agent called Azure Mobility Services agent that will be used for migrating the specific workload. Okay, so let me show you something. You can also go and do it from here itself manually. If you go to the configuration server, okay, if you go to the configuration server and there is a specific location where you will find all the agents. Okay, if you go here and go to the program files, Azure Site Recovery. Okay, I forgot the actual path. Let me go back one step and I can just check for .msi. Yeah, so these are the agents that are available. These are the agents. Which path it is? Open file location. So it is under same location only, but under home folder. Okay, home, SVC systems, admin, web, software. Okay, like based on your operating system, you can go and copy the agent. If you want to migrate Debian or Oracle Linux or Red Hat or SUSE or Ubuntu, you can copy the respective agent. So here I want to do a agent installation for Windows system. I can copy it from the configuration server. This agents will be available in the configuration server itself. I can go and paste it here on the source machine, whichever I want to migrate. So this will happen automatically. See, if you look at the connectivity now, if I go and check the network statistics, okay, you can see that there is already a connection attempt that is happening from 172.31. Okay, it's listening, but I don't think, okay, there is nothing happening as of now. Okay, let me go and check the status here. Whatever the activity that we initiated, right? We'll go and check the status here. Okay, now the machine is discovered. Okay, so we have not triggered the actual replicate, I mean, actual agent installation. So the machine is listed. I can go and select this. And if I click on next, okay, now it will go and start adding the agent to it. So it is asking me like where exactly I want to replicate and all. Okay, we should have a storage account, as I said. Okay, so here I can go and select the storage account where I want to store the, I can just say premium SSD. I can select the Sunday storage account, which we created during the storage class. We created this, right? I can just select that. And it is asking which service account I want to use. Oh, interesting. Here is where we have to be careful. It does not provide me that AWS account. So there is some challenge here. So let me go here. So we added this. Okay. Okay, let's go and recreate one more account. Somewhere there was an issue. Okay. AWS, or I'll say migration service account. So this account will be used for installing the agent or whatever mobility services agent that we need. So all those things will happen through this account. Okay, I'm not sure why the earlier account did not get properly added to the console. Okay, I'll have to do the same thing on the other machine also. That's why, okay, let's try and do that. If you have a AD environment, then it's super simple. You can just go and create it in AD and automatically it will be added to all the systems. Okay, now let me go and check it. We already added this as a member. Okay, perfect. Let's close this. So now we have to go and run that. Oh, did I check the same server again? Let me double check. That account has to be a member of administrators. Perfect. Okay. So I'll go and change the account here. I can go and add as many account as I need. I don't know what was the challenge earlier. Sometimes I think we have to kind of give dot slash or something. Okay, I don't remember, but anyways, let me try and okay. Oh, here there is some problem always popping up. Okay. Now let me go here. Let me go to the vault again. Site recovery. Enable replication. I want to do it for physical servers. So now at least the config server is showing healthy, which is a good sign. Okay, I can select this VM. Oh, now it is able to show the older account. Anyways, okay, as long as we can select one account, it is taking some time. Okay, so it is taking some time to show up. Okay, maybe everyone needs some patience to work on this migration activity. Okay, so after some time, even you can see the second account also. Okay, so now at least I'm able to see the service account which we created some time back. Anyways, which is good. So I can select the replication policy which I created. So for this replication policy, I'll get 60 minutes RPO and 60 minutes app consistency snapshot. Okay, I can just go and enable it and start the replication. So when I click on enabling the replication, the very first thing that it is going to do is the configuration server will go and push the agent that is needed for migration onto the source server. So if I go and check that here, so the configuration server IP is what? 172.31 ending with 189, 9.189, and the IP address of the web server is 14.142. If I go and check the web server now, I should see some connectivity happening between the two systems now, or some kind of packet exchange will start happening now. See if I go and check it here. See, there is a new some new connections are getting established. Let's wait for some time. Okay, still going on.
Other than this, do you have any log or some tool to monitor it, Stan?
Yeah, so we can monitor it in the console itself. Yeah. So if I go to the console here, if I go to the site recovery infrastructure, here I can go to okay, enable replication. So under the site replication job, it is saying I'm not able to protect this, enable this replication. I can go and check what is the error. So it is not able to install the agent. There is some issue with my password. So here is the log. Okay, you can click on this log and you can identify what exactly the issue, whether the credential that I provided is invalid or inaccurate. Okay, you will get all the logs here, the error ID and all those things. So you will also you'll also get the details on what kind of activities that you can do to fix this error. So you get the log here itself. Under the site recovery jobs, you'll have the detailed information for each and every activity. So failed or successful, you'll get all the things. Okay, here is where you can check it. So what I can do is I can try and do a manual installation of the agent. I think there is some issue with the password that I gave, but I can just go and install the mobility services agent manually. So here also there are challenges. If the credential is wrong, it is going to show some error. Okay, it is asking me whether I want to install the mobility services agent or I want to do a master target. This is mainly for failing back from Azure to on-premises, the reverse thing. Okay, if you want to do a rollback from Azure to on-premises, you need to have the master target. You can install this role on the configuration server itself. This is to enable the failback process. Failback means coming back to the old environment. Okay, I'm just installing the mobility services agent now. So this is where you need the passphrase, which we created some time back. Without the passphrase, you are not going to succeed in installing this. Okay, now it will ask for the passphrase shortly. Okay, so where did we have the passphrase? We have stored it in the notepad. Okay, this passphrase is needed if you want to install the agent manually. The installation of the binary set will take 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so we call it as Azure Site Recovery Mobility Services Agent. That's the agent. It will get added to your add or remove programs here shortly. Okay, so this is what the Azure VM agent and the Azure Site Recovery agent. These two agents will get installed. It has just got installed today. Okay, just now it is getting installed. So these two agents are needed for migrating any on-premises VM or any cloud VM to Azure platform. These two agents should have to get installed. So generally it will get pushed from the configuration server. If there are some issues with the configuration account or service account that we have used, then these issues will occur. I mean, we have to do it manually. I can also go and try and rerun it. I can go and reset the password and try to rerun it. But yeah, you have manual option also. That's what I just want to show here. You can either do it automatically or you can do it manually also. Okay, let's see. I don't know why it is taking this much time. Okay, perfect. Okay, now it is asking to proceed with configuration. So it will ask for the passphrase. Okay, this is where you have to give that passphrase, whichever you have copied, and we have to give the configuration server IP address. Configuration server IP address. This is the configuration server IP address. And the port number, I think I have to give 9443 or 443 something. Let me try it. I think it is just 443, I guess. Let me double check. Yeah, it is 443. Sorry, not 9443. It's 443. Okay, now it is, this machine is registered, and if I go here, then I should start seeing the whatever machine that we have got registered. So I can just restart the enable replication. This should actually complete before I can start the replication activity or migration activity. Okay, now it will again go and try to install the mobility agent. Again, if it says the agent is already there, it will get skipped. Okay, now you can see the activity is happening. Okay, I can show you that quickly. So this is on the AWS web server, right? If you go and check this, it will go and attempt to install the agent from the configuration server. See, from 9.189 to 14.142 through 443 port, it is trying to get established and it is trying to install the agent. So it is trying from configuration server to the AWS web server. Okay, and in some cases, if the credential is not matching, then it will fail. Okay, now you can see that there is a established session from config server to the web server through 443 port. Okay, that is what is happening here. So that's what it's trying now. It is trying to connect to the system and install the agent. Okay, it is successful now because like we have done a manual installation. It has verified the agent and it has marked it as successful. Okay, now I can go back to the previous screen here and I can go and start doing the replication. So go to the site recovery, infrastructure. So we can check what's happening here. Okay, this is all connected. Okay, so there is no issues. Okay, we have to come and check all these things. Okay, whether there is enough free space, whether there is enough available memory, CPU utilization. Sometimes if it is showing some warning or red, the replication might take some time. Okay, so it looks all green. Okay, there is no issues reported. Now we can go and try to see what's happening on the replication side. Okay, you can see that the AWS web server is getting synchronized. It's 0% now. It will take some time. Okay, so now the data transfer is about to start. Okay, so this is where I have reduced the size. Okay, so if it is 30 GB, it will take some time to replicate or synchronize 30 GB. This time it is going to replicate only 25 GB because we have reduced the capacity. Okay, you can just wait for some time and automatically this will start replicating. If the server is not getting listed, you can go and start it from the scratch. Okay, you can select whether you want to migrate the Hyper-V or VMware or whatever VM you want to. You can just select it and start adding the replication here. Okay, 1 minute. Let me just. Okay. Once the replication starts, we can just go and look into the other things, theoretical part shortly. Any questions from anyone so far? You guys are hearing me?
Yes, and we are good.
Okay, okay. Okay, I was about to reconnect with different network. I thought like, how many of you have experience with migration already? Some of you might have experience, right? Okay, let's see.
I have some experience in cloud endure, Stan.
Cloud Endure, okay. So in AWS class, we use Cloud Endure for showing the lab. Anyways, so what else? What other things? Okay. Okay, let's discuss a couple of things while this is happening. It will take some time. Okay, let's not watch that. Okay, so another prerequisite and best practices. So what are the different things that you guys will do when, I mean, either using plate spin or double take or cloud endure? What are the different things that you will do as part of the migration best practices? What are the things you will go and check? So we have already mentioned the disk free space and all. And we have also told like we need some administrative credential to install the agent. Besides this, what are the different things you will go and check or you will do as part of the migration?
Compatibility, like
Okay.
applications.
Okay, version compatibility, whether the OAS or the software or whatever it is like is compatible in the cloud. Yeah. What else? So generally, like what I will do is I'll go and clean the temp files. Okay, I'll go and uninstall the unwanted applications, or I'll disable unwanted services. Okay, I will also go and disable antivirus or anti-malware only during the migration, and I'll again add it back, and I'll also check the backup schedule. If the backup is running during the same time, then it will also be problematic during the migration. And I'll also check whether any antivirus scan is scheduled at that time. I will also check the network sizing, whether I have got the MTU size, the speed, the duplex settings, and all those things. I'll also work with the network guys to check whether there is any configuration mismatch, and whether Windows firewall or any IP tables are enabled, which can tamper my migration speed or whatever it is. And I'll also go and check whether I have active OS license or active subscription for the operating system. If you don't have proper support or proper licensing, then that will also get impacted. And we'll also have to check whether you have any encryption enabled, or because encryption, the BitLocker and all those things. Okay, so it will also cause a lot of problem while doing migration. And also we should take all the proper practices, take backup or whatever you want to do, all those things, take screenshots before the replication or migration. You have to check, and you have to check the permissions. Okay, whether you have the right level of permissions to do it, whether there is any SSL encryption for any of the websites or any encryption is involved. Okay, I will also go and upgrade the drivers, or I'll check the firmware. I'll check the VMware tools version. Okay, I'll check very few things like this. And also if I want to avoid any unwanted devices, like virtual devices, like CD, DVD, floppy, or there might be some old virtual machines which might have the virtual CD or virtual floppy or virtual disks attached. I will go and remove the unwanted virtual devices from the virtual machine. Okay, and also I have to understand whether any group policy settings are kind of having any impact while we migrate things. Okay, so we have to just do some activities, some cleanup. Also we have to check whether there is any scheduled task that runs on that server at during the migration time, whether there is any predefined activity. Okay, so besides this, any other point? Someone started speaking. Any point that you want to add? Do you check anything else besides this when you do the actual migration? Okay,
That's
fine.
all.
Okay, so I think almost we are covered, right? Okay, fine. So there might be 2 or 3 more points, but yeah, we can get to understand it when we do it. Different companies will have different um, practices. Okay, so as part of your experience, okay, when you do the migration, when there is a issue at the very beginning, what are the things that might be the problem? When you start the migration at the beginning itself, like less than 5%, what might be the issues that might cause the
Network,
issue? Yeah, network
network
is the main thing, right? Network readiness. Yeah.
and account, maybe account mismatch,
Okay, permissions, account, and all those things. Yeah.
port, so port,
Sorry.
eh, okay, port I saw, okay, it comes
Uh,
under network.
yeah, network, right? Yeah, yeah. What else?
Maybe destination server is offline,
Yeah,
online.
destination, destination, destination storage account, permissions. Okay, virtual network or the configuration server. Okay, so all these things. Yeah, so permission should be on different areas. Yeah, and if my migration is failing from 5 to 7% or something like that, what you will check? So if it is like 5 to 7%, mostly it is on the disk level. Okay, so something like there might be some you have to go and do a check disk, or there might be some disk level issues. Okay, so what happens at that time of 5 to 7% is it will try and do a cloning. Okay, disk level cloning is what it will try. So it will go and check whether it is able to read the complete disk, or either whether there is any issues with reading the contents within that disk. So this is, we call it as preparation to clone, or preparation to copy the content. So before copying the content or cloning, it will go and check the disk's integrity, and it will also go and check the disk permissions. And after 6 or 7%, from 7% to 95%, what will happen is it will only actually do the actual data copy. Okay, we call it as cloning or copying or whatever, right? Snapshot or whatever you can say. It's going to do the actual data copy. Okay, so if there is an issue, it will be at the disk level or at the network level. So after 95%, okay, to 97%, we will be only doing the post cloning activity. When I say post cloning activity, on the destination side, we will go and uninstall unwanted agents, or any drivers that is related to your physical system. Okay, so all those things will happen. And on top of that, there might be some reconfiguration also. Something like maybe I'll say reconfiguration will happen at 98% to 99%. So if your migration is successful up to 97 or 98%, then that means whatever activity, the migration activity is already successful. The replication is already successful, because we can do the reconfiguration and customization even manually. Okay, and the very last thing that will happen at the 99%, or the very last is install the tools, drivers, and whatever that are related to the destination environment. Okay, for example, if your destination is VMware, you will get installed with VMware tools. If your destination is Azure, it will get installed with Azure agents and all those things. And at the end, it will go and start power on. Okay, so like initially, if there is a problem at the very beginning, then it might be a firewall issue, or it might be a network issue, or it might be a permission, or it might be some agents is not properly installed. Okay, it will be on these 3 areas. If the issue is at the 5 to 7%, then you have to go and check whether there is any issue with the disk, reading the disk, or any fragmentation is there. You can go and run check the disk level issues. Okay, it's mostly like if it is here, it's mostly at the disk level. Okay, this is like a kind of guideline. Okay, but again, some tools, minor percentage might be a little different, but this can be used as a guideline for most of the migrations. Okay, so let's see where we are. Still at 0%, but it says healthy, but that is fine. Sometimes it will suddenly pick up quickly. Okay, so let's see. Let's wait for some time, or else we can just. That's why we need to start this replication and all at the very beginning. Okay, sometimes it will take more time to. Okay, at last it's showing 5%. Some positive signs. Okay, okay, 1.49 GB has already copied. So, oh, okay. This is interesting, right? So even though I reduce the 25 GB, it is copying the entire disk. Okay, so that's a kind of weird thing. I did not expect that. So what happens is, like, even after I reduce the size of the partition, it is copying the entire disk only. So the disk is still 30 GB, right? That I should have allocated the 25 GB at the machine creation. So it is copying the entire 30 GB disk 0. Even though I'm using only 25 GB for the C drive partition or the volume, it's trying to copy the entire 30 GB, which is interesting. Anyways, that's fine, guys. So that's a learning. Okay, so it's copying. Okay, so there is 1.5 GB which is already copied, which means we have gone past a lot of things. Network, there is no issue. Permission, there is no issue. The disk is copying over now. So it has gone past the 5%, which means we are good with the data copying. So I think mostly like the migration will quickly complete now. Go ahead. What's the question?
This is so there's a disk level, then disk to disk, like data store replication something, or
Yeah, this is mostly the replication is kind of, you can say, disk level or block level replication. Okay, or disk or block level replication. But in some cases, if you are going and resizing this, if you are changing the destination size to a lesser size than the source, what will happen is then the replication will become a file level replication. Okay, file level replication is very problematic. Okay, it does not have the same level of success ratio like the block level replication or the disk level replication. So only when you are changing the destination size to a, for example, you have a 100 GB disk on the source and you want to reduce it to 50 GB or 80 GB, then it will become a file level replication. Okay, file level replication, it has a very less success ratio. So it's better to go with the same size, and after replication or after migration is complete, you can go and reduce the size. That's the best practices.
oh.
Yeah. So as of now, for your question, yeah, it's disk level or block level migration. Okay, so let's. Now the data is getting copied from where to where? From AWS data center to Azure data center. 30% synchronized, which is good. But it's saying still 1.5 GB only synchronized, but it will quickly copy. Okay, so we have to copy actually only 15 GB actual data. Rest of them are only white space. So it's progressing. Okay, so which is a good sign. 30 GB, 30% is much better. Okay, while this is happening, we'll also discuss a few theoretical, but I was a little concerned about it is getting stuck on 0%. Now it's progressing, which is good. Okay, we can move on now. So now you have to understand the most important thing, which is like for an architect standpoint. Okay, so when you go and do a WAMI tool, or when you go and create the dashboard, we'll have different type of migration workload. Okay, so we call it as Gartner's 6R or whatever it is, right? So we'll have to decide how we are planning to migrate each and every workload. So for example, you will have workload server 1, server 2 and stuff. Okay, not all the servers will have the same practice or same mechanism. Okay, we'll have to follow different, different mechanism for different systems. Okay, the reason I say that, some systems you can go and replicate using the lift and shift migration or rehosting migration. So which is nothing but we are changing the host actually. We are migrating the VM from on-premises host to Azure host or AWS host to Azure host. We are rehosting it. We are just changing the hosting platform. We are just lifting and shifting the VM. So we are just, there is no change in the OS. There is no change in application. Only the agent will get changed, and it's like kind of the traditional migration, I would say. Okay, not all the migration will support traditional. So in some cases, or I would say traditional or the migration practices, in some cases, we might have to go and do a re-platform. When I say re-platform, as of now, you might be running it on a on-premises VMware VM or some Hyper-V VM or whatever it is, and I'm changing the platform here. So in order to change the platform, when I say changing the platform, I'm going to change the base platform. For example, it might be running on .NET framework, or it might be running on a different version of legacy framework. In the cloud, I'm going to run it on maybe Azure App Services, or I'm going to run it on a new platform plus a newer version. Okay, so in order to do that, I have to go and do a repackaging, or I have to go and make some changes on the code to support the destination version. So code level changes and all those things. But you should not make any major application overhaul. Okay, so you should not do anything major changes, but it's like we need to do something technically here. But with rehosting, we are just changing the VM from one host to another host, from on-premises host to Azure host. So there is no technical challenges, or there is no skills or no technical skills needed, or no programming skills needed. And no, it's not technical. I would say no special skill set needed for on the programming aspect, because we are not changing anything on the application, or we are not modifying anything there on the program level. Okay, but here on the re-platform, we definitely need development skills, because we are changing the platform and development teams are heavily involved. Okay, platform is getting changed, the platform version, and we need to involve the development teams also. But here we are not making any major architectural changes. We are not changing the complete platform from Python to Java, or Java to Go, or a different platform. We are not making a major architectural change, but only thing is we might be changing the platform. For example, it might be running on a VM on premises. Now it is going to run on Azure App Services, or some different platform. We are changing the platform. So we call it as lift and shift, but we are making some tinkering work, some minor changes on the code or on the package to support the destination version. Okay, we are not making major changes, we are making minor changes, and that's why we call it as tinkering work, small work. Okay, these are all like I would say simple terms to understand the activity. These are the standard Gartner terms. Okay, similarly, we have something called repurchase. So repurchase is a costly solution where we are dropping whatever we have on the premises, and we are going and purchasing a new solution on the Azure platform. Either you will go and purchase a Office 365 by dropping the existing SharePoint environment, by dropping the existing Exchange environment, we'll go and purchase a O365 subscription and something like that. In this case, you are investing a lot of money, but again, you are changing the traditional or old technology here. Okay, you can go and run an IaaS VM and create the Exchange server and whatever it is, but we are dropping whatever we have in the on-premises and we are shopping a new thing. So this is a new investment. There is a high investment that is needed. Okay, you are going for a O365 subscription, or you are going and completely building a new environment. And the next one is refactoring. Refactor means you have to go and do a lot of re-architecture. Okay, so you have to, it's very complex. Cost is involved, and you have to involve a lot of people because of the complexity. Okay, there is a high risk also because we are going and doing a re-architecture. We are completely changing the architecture. There is a high downtime. Okay, and also you are trying to explore the full functionality of the cloud. We are trying to modernize the application. Now the application might be monolithic, and they are trying to split the application into small segments, and they are trying to create multiple microservices. So there are a lot of aspects, a lot of complexity involved, a lot of teams has to be involved there, from programming, application side, and even from the utility infra side also. A lot of people has to be involved because we are changing the complete architecture of the application. So also we have to kind of enable monitoring for that. A lot of APIs has to get created, and they are trying to do a lot of changes here with refactoring. This is the most challenging solution, but some people will do it as part of their migration journey to the cloud, but not for all the application. For one or two old traditional application, they might have some investment, and if they have some funding, they can go and do the refactoring. So they have to start the application development from the scratch, and they have to refactor the entire code in order to have a new modernized application like a microservices concept. And in some cases, we might have to retain the existing infrastructure. Some systems, like you might have recently invested in a hardware, or recently invested in an operating system license, or you might have recently bought a new application software. So those systems, if you are migrating to the cloud, you will have a lot of cost impact to that, right? So some certain things you will revisit it later, or you will be retaining it for now, and you can migrate it after 3 years or 4 years. You will go and relook into that. Okay, now the opportunity, you don't want to migrate it because of the recent investment that you have done, and you want to migrate it little later. And the next one is retire. As part of the discovery and assessment, you will get to understand that a lot of systems have been unused for a long time, and you might not need it for your business at all, and you will get to understand during the assessment activity. So those systems you can go and decommission it or retire it. Okay, so that will also happen. So these are the Gartner 6R. You can go and map each and every workload to what is the plan against each of the server, whether you want to migrate the server as is, rehost, or whether you want to do a replatform of that server, or whether you want to decommission that server. So we'll have the checklist for each and every workload that you have. Okay, this is what you will do as part of the after the discover and assessment phase. Before the migration gets kicked in, you need to have the plan ready for each and every single server that you have in the on premises. Okay, any questions on the Gartner 6R? So you'll have a checklist. You'll create a kind of checklist for each and every server. You will take a complete CMDB list, and you will add a column where you will have what kind of plan you have for each and every system. Okay, so the rehost is like, it will reduce the capital expense because you are not going to make any changes investment, but operational expense, it will continue. Instead of spending time in monitoring, management, and maintenance on the premises, you are going to pay to Azure. It is going to have operational expense, but it is going to reduce the capital expense. Also with rehosting, you are going to reduce the on-prem footprint, or data center space will automatically come down. Okay, space or expense will come down. Okay, and you are achieving a better return on investment, or rapid return on investment in the cloud. That will be there. And in order to do rehosting, what kind of analysis or what kind of important things you will collect? When you do a migration, what kind of information you will have in the Excel sheet or whatever you are trying to do, right? So what kind of information you will have? Any idea?
What data we are going to migrate, and
Okay.
what are the current testing functionality. For example, any application we are going to migrate, how it is working. All this testing has to be redone after the migration.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you have to kind of do all these things. You have to kind of take the CPU size, memory size, the storage capacity, the application dependencies, which application is talking to which application, how much network we have, what kind of asset we have, whether we have active license. So you have to gather all these information when you want to do the rehosting, and the compatibility of the asset on the destination, whether the system is tolerance for changes, what kind of business dependency we have for the server, what kind of process dependency we have for the server. We have to understand the business priority, business criticality of that server, whether it is a high critical server or whatever it is, because like we cannot go and do a critical application server migration on day one. Okay, so how you will do the planning? So you will go and do a test server migration first, and then a development server, and then QA server, and then the prod, and then the mission critical, right? You'll go phase by phase. The first phase will not, should not have the mission critical and prod server. So in order to understand that, you have to go and list the server and understand what is the criticality, what is the business dependency on that server, whether the server has got any business critical application and all those things. So rehosting, you don't have to understand too many things, because we are just changing the host here. We are changing from on-prem host to Azure host. We just need to understand the size of the VM and some kind of dependencies and compatibility and all those things. But when you go to the refactoring, you have to understand a lot of different things, or you have to understand the detailed information about it. What is the code we are using? What is the version of the code portability, whether we can migrate it to the cloud, whether what kind of application size it is, okay, what kind of development platform we are using it, okay, or for example, what kind of users, how many users are accessing it, user traffic, or how much time it takes for loading the application. Okay, a lot of information we have to gather. So when you are going to a different strategy, you have to understand too many things: which database it is connecting to, what kind of application to web server it is getting connected. Okay, so how much business investment they have, because like we are refactoring here, as I said, there is a lot of cost in investment here. So we have to understand how much budget we have for the changing the application. So we have to understand little extra things when you go for the other strategy. But for rehosting, just understanding the CPU, memory, storage, network, and dependency is more than sufficient. But if you go for rebuilding, you have to understand the application first. What kind of business criticality it has got, whether the end users, where are the end users connecting from, whether if you are migrating to the cloud, what kind of challenges we'll have, what kind of business processes will be impacted. Okay, you have to understand little more things when you go for re-platforming or refactoring and all those things. But the other things like retain, retire, no work needed for now, and you'll have to look into that stuff little later. Okay, so I think you guys are getting me right. So when you go for re-platforming or refactoring, or well, yeah, these two things, re-platform and refactor, you have to understand the development platform. You have to understand the database. You have to understand the user dependency. What is the page load time currently? What is the time on the page now? How many users are accessing at the same time? How much time it takes to load? What is the current feedback loop, or what kind of technology stack they are using? So you have to understand more things if you're going for re-platforming or refactoring. Okay, so it's not the same thing. You have to we also have to understand the database schema. You have to understand the process connectivity. Okay, so what are the, is there any SaaS application available for that business application? So that the thing that I want to convey here is, when you do a lift and shift migration, okay, it is very easy. Okay, you can just go and understand very few things, 4 or 5 things, and you can start the migration. But if you want to do a re-platforming and refactoring, there is a lot of due diligence that is needed. You have to go and do a lot of investigation, compatibility checks, database schema, what are the process that is dependent on this application, how much network traffic it creates, how many users are connecting on a daily basis, from where they are connecting, which location they are connecting from. Okay, so all such things you have to go and do a kind of analysis. Without that, you cannot proceed. Any questions? Waiting for the first recovery point. Very good. We are at the very end of it. Very nice. Healthy. We have a current RPO of 3 minutes, which is excellent. Waiting for the first recovery point. The replication is already complete. Okay, waiting for the first recovery point. It is trying to take a first level snapshot, and it will give you option to do a failover. Okay, there is not much data change rate, which is very good. Okay, we are protecting only one disk. Okay, this is the source server, and this is the process server which is processing the migration. Okay, 30 GB content is already here. Okay, good. So you can go and check that. Okay, where you can go and check that means you can go to your storage account. We used a specific storage account for this migration, right? Sorry. So we used Sunday, this one. Go to the containers. You can see that there is a container which is created. No, it's not this, sorry. Okay, a lot of functions are getting created. Which one we selected? STDLRS1. Here it is, right? ASR. Here are the data. This is the content. Compressed data, 16 GB. Okay, so here it is, 16 GB data. Okay, so after compression and all those things, it has stored here. Okay, so you can find the data here, whatever under the ASR. This is what it has created today. Okay, so now the data is already on the Azure platform. It's just a matter of waiting for the first recovery point. Once it is available, we can just try and fail over the server. Okay, you can check now on the source server also that it is established multiple connections here. Let me check that. So you can see 9443 port is also active now because there is a replication going on. So for the initial agent installation and all those things, it will use only 443. After that, it will go and replicate the content using 9443. Okay, so let's see. Even there are some more connections. I don't know, like maybe from the Azure Site Recovery Server. It is also using something. Let me check. What is this MobiNet? I don't know. I don't know. It says maybe abuse also. Okay, there is some connections happening from this IP also. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's still waiting for the first recovery point. Any questions from anyone so far?
Sam, is there any option to run the post-script activity after migration? Like, so if you are migrating the VM servers, okay, so the uninstallation of VMware tools and other steps can be done automatically.
Yeah. So Yeah, this is like Azure platform, right? In some companies, they do create some scripts to check some drivers, some VMware tools, and all those things. So you can use that script, but Microsoft automatically provides it. It checks for any Hyper-V integration tools or VMware tools. It will automatically check and remove it. Even the Azure Site Recovery or Azure Migrate has inbuilt script, but some companies they also have some manually created scripts to run it and remove it. Okay, it's like you don't have to do that. Microsoft already provides it, but if in case you want to run your own version of tools to check certain things and remove it, you can also create it, but it's not required because Microsoft will automatically do it for you. The Azure migration or the Azure Migrate tool, it has inbuilt option to go and check any VMware tools or integration services. It will go and remove it automatically. Okay, so let's see. So you have multiple options on the top here, right? So you can also disable the replication if someone is complaining about the server. When the server is replicated, if they are seeing a lot of network traffic and it is impacting your business application, you can go and disable this replication. Okay, if in case you want to, but once after the replication is complete, you will get option to failover and test failover. Test failover is mainly for giving the server access to the application team or the development team to verify whether they are able to see the application working fine and all those things. So when you do a test failover, we generally test it, failover it to a test network. We will not failover it to a production network. Instead, we'll failover it to a test network. And once the testing is all complete, once the application team and the end user confirm that they are able to see the data and whether they are able to have a same level of load time or much better performance is there, then we can go and do the actual cutover. Failover is actual cutover, and prior to that you can also go and do a testing. Okay, you can do a test failover and clean up the test failover, and once after you complete the migration, you will not be able to do any reprotection or whatever it is, resynchronization, or you cannot do any, you cannot change the recovery point. Okay, until that time, until you do the completion of the migration, you can go and change the recovery point. You can do one more level of replication and change it to a latest replication point or recovery point. Okay, you can do a final replication on the weekend, and you can just do a resynchronize, and you can do change the recovery point to a later time, and you can also complete it. Okay, will have the option, all these options until you complete the migration. And if you want to do a reprotection, which means reverse replication, you can also do that. Okay, you can also go and enable reprotection, and automatically the data will get replicated from destination to source. If you want to roll back the changes, that is also provided by Azure Migrate tool. Okay, let's wait for these things to complete. Okay, sometimes it will take some time. Okay, let's go and check it here. Okay, let's go and explore few more things. And while this is happening, we'll go to our Azure Migrate tool, and let's see. We imported some project, right? Okay, I don't know why this is showing West US 2 by default. I'm not sure if I created the project in West US 2. Ideally, I generally choose East US only. It is automatically changing to that. Maybe I've created the project in a different location. So either ways, that's fine. Interesting thing is that it is not coming up. We already did that. Okay, this is fine. It all looks fine. I did not select anything wrong. Something wrong. Let me go and create new, discover and assess. Okay, this is all fine. It's not showing here. Why? Okay, now it is showing. Let's create a group. Somewhere we are missing some. Any idea from anyone? What might be the challenge? Okay, let's see that. We can just fix that a little later also. Let's go and check the migration status. Here it is. Migration Vault 1. Site recovery jobs. This is all finalized. Protection is there. Let's go and check the replicated items. Waiting for first. Times this is what the challenge is. Okay, sometimes it will take more time to create the recovery point. But the actual cutover and all, it will take only 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Okay, so once after we get the first recovery point, we can complete the class quickly, 5 to 10 minutes. But this is the most challenging part. Getting the first recovery point, it takes some time. Meanwhile, I can also try and look into that other issue. Have you guys used this Azure Site Recovery or Azure Migrate in your, one of you said that you have used Cloud Endure, but no one has used this before, huh? Azure Migrate or Site Recovery. So Azure Migrate, you can use it for migrating the other. Next week, we'll also see the SQL migration also. Okay, so today we are just discussing on the Windows or whatever, the Linux, these migrations. Next week, we'll see database migration also. Dependency 0 servers 10. Wow, super. Okay, so at least now it is protected. Okay, so now I can at least go and start doing the failover activities. Okay, so you'll get two options. Okay, so you'll get test failover and failover. Maybe we can just do the test failover first. Okay, test failover, what it will happen is it will create a test machine on the destination. Okay, let me duplicate and I'll show you the Azure virtual machine portal. Okay, if you go to the virtual machines, as of now, I'm not having any machines with that name. Whatever, like what is the name of the server? AWS web server, right? We don't have that server here. Okay, so now as part of the test failover, it will go and create. I can go and select the lowest RTO or RPO or whatever recovery point you want. You can go and select it. And the destination, I'm going to migrate it to Microsoft Azure. And I can select a test network. If you have a separate test network or a failover network, you can select that. But here I'm going to use the same network. But in production environment, you should not directly replicate it to the production VNet. You should have a test VNet created and you should be replicating to that. Once after your testing is complete, the actual failover can be done to the production environment. Okay, yeah, I'm doing the test failover now, and it will go and start creating a test machine. It will have a name like AWS web server -test. When you're doing a test failover, it will have a name with a suffix -test. Okay, let's wait for it. So sometimes it will not assign a public IP address. Maybe I'll just go and keep a public IP address ready. Okay, already we have these many public IP address. I'll go and delete the unwanted ones because there are chances that it will not allow me to create more than 10. Okay, now I can go and create a public IP address. Okay, this is all fine, standard, regional is fine. I'll say this is migration test public IP. Okay, it is not able to delete, that's fine. Okay, so I'll just go and say create. It's asking for resource group, fine. I'll just select the resource group. Okay, I'll create it. It looks like this public IP address, I'm not able to delete it because it might be already associated. I'll have to go and disassociate first and then delete it. Okay. Now I can go and delete these 3 IP address, which I don't need anymore. Okay, it's going on. In parallel, we can also go and check the virtual machines, whether it has created a test. Okay, perfect. So you can see that there is a new VM that is created with -test. Okay, it's already running. Okay, that's good. So you can just go and select this, and sometimes it will not assign a public IP address as part of the replication. So what you can do is you can go and assign a public IP to this, or you can just go and do it either ways. You can go to the public IP address and go and select the public IP address which I created, and I can go and associate with the migrated server or the replicated server. Okay, so here I can go and select the server which I got replicated, AWS server web server -test. I can select that network interface and I can select OK. So once after this is done, you can go and copy the public IP address that is assigned to this migration test public IP. It will take some time because the replication is just going to get over. Okay, so the actual test failover, it's still going on. Okay, let's go and check it. See, the cleanup is now ready. Okay, so which means the test failover is completed. Okay, now the cleanup test failover is pending. Okay, without cleaning up the test failover, you cannot go and do the actual failover. Okay, so now we have to test all these things. Okay, let's wait for it. Once the IP address is associated, we can copy that public IP address and we can go and verify it. We can log into the server, we can just test it. Okay, we can go and check whether port 80 is allowed for that new test VM. It should have got allowed by default, or else we can go and allow it. Okay, maybe that is the problem. We can go and check that VM, where exactly it is. So this is the test VM. We can go to the security group, networking, inbound roles, it's checking. Okay, it does not have any effective rules. Okay, I can just go to the effective security rules. Okay, it does not have any data. So what I can do is I can go to this network security group and I can just go and attach a network security group. Let me do something here. Okay, as of now, the network interface does not have any network center. If that is the case, then it should be wide open. Okay, either ways, we can just go and create a quick network security group. Interesting. Okay, fine. So let me go and create migration NSG. Okay, I can go and add the inbound rules. So I can add destination port 80. I will say port 80. I will also allow 3389 so that if I want to log into the server, I can also log in and verify. Okay, now I can go and attach this security rule to that specific network interface. AWS web server test, attach it. Generally, these things are not needed for testing purposes. Maybe if we create it in test vnet, then I think it might have got simplified. Anyway, so I can just go and test it now. I'm just looking for that AWS to Azure web page because we have migrated that server and it should have all those web page intact. We can also try and log into that server now. 52, 188, 131, 118. It should accept me to log in with the administrator and the AWS web server password. Interesting. So let me go and quickly check that VM here. Go to the virtual machines. Go to AWS web server. It has got this IP address, public IP address 52.118. Yeah, this is all good. Go to networking. It has got port 80, port 3389, all those things. Okay, fine. Then why it is not allowing? Oh, okay, it's popping up. Very nice. Sometimes the network security group rules, it takes 1 or 2 minutes to get refreshed. Okay, I can just go and copy the username and password for the web server. Okay, whatever username and password that we had for the source server, we can use the same thing. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so we are seeing results on the back end. Okay, AWS to Azure for that IP address for 52.188.131. Okay, it is also able to connect, and also we are able to connect to AWS web server 1 using the Azure public IP address. Okay, we are able to connect to the machine using this public IP address 52.118.188.131.118. This is the IP address of my AWS test server in Azure platform. Okay, this is the same IP address which I'm connected to now. Okay, see, I'm able to connect, and I'm also able to see the same settings and the file which I downloaded. All those things are still there. Okay, I'm able to test it. I'm able to look at the contents. Now I can go and kind of close this, and I'm successful with my testing activity. Now I can go and say clean up the test failover. So I'm done with testing. I can go and delete the test failover virtual machine now. I can say okay. What it is going to do now is it is going to go and delete this test failover VM. So this VM will be deleted now. So it will change to deleting in shortly. So once after you delete, what you have to do is you have to go and do the actual failover. So once after you failover, you can go and decommission the AWS server if you want, or you can run both of them in parallel. If you want to do that, you can do that also. Okay, now the cleanup test failover is going on. We selected it already, right? Or I thought we did that. Okay, it's completing the test failover. Very good. Okay, so which means it is going to delete the VM. Yeah, it has deleted that VM. Okay, the AWS web server -test is no more. Now you can go and do the actual failover. Okay, this option will get enabled now. Once after the test failover cleanup is complete, this option will get enabled. Okay, so it is starting the task to delete the failover. Very good. So once after this is done, you will get the option to do the actual failover. As part of this, if you want to make some minor changes to the disk, if you want to go and change the size or whatever it is, you can make some minor changes here. Okay, on the Microsoft Azure platform, if you want to change it to B2S or different size, you can also go and add tag, and you can edit the destination sizing. Okay, as part of the replication, if you want to increase the memory, or if you want to add more network cards, or if you want to change the size, you can also change it. Okay, and also you can also change the network category, and you can assign a static IP address. Okay, some options are available here. Okay, under the compute and network section, you can go and make the changes if you want. Okay, under here you can change it. Even the disk also you can go and check it. So now you have the actual failover option. Now I am going to do the final cutover. Okay, it is asking me what is the recovery point I want to do. It can also shut down the virtual machine. If it is a VMware environment, it will automatically go and shut down the source VM through the vCenter. But here it is AWS to Azure. I don't want to do that. Okay, and actually it will not happen because we don't have the Azure will not have control to do that. Okay, I can go and select whatever latest app consistent or latest RPO or RTO. I can go and select the latest one. The latest one I have is 10:11 a.m., which is 7:11 a.m., which is just 3 minutes from now. Okay, now the time is 7:14 a.m. in US, and the latest RTO that I have is 7:11. Okay, which is very good actually. Okay, so whatever changes that has happened 3 minutes past, it's there in the replicated content. Now the actual failover is going to happen, and once after the actual failover is complete, then you can go and complete the migration. Okay, and if in case there is any issues notified by someone or some application owner, you can go and do a reprotect so that you can reverse replicate it from Azure to on-premises. Any questions from anyone? I know this is a very lengthy topic and you have to practice it, okay, in order to become familiar. But we also discussed a lot of theory around it, okay, so that is also important, equally important for a senior person. Okay, if you are having a lot of experience, then you have to understand all the theoretical part also. So now if you go to the virtual machine list, it will create a machine without -test because this is the actual failover, right? So it will create the exact same name, AWS Web Server 1. This time it will not have -test and all. Did we select it? Did we run it? Yeah, completing failover is going on. Okay, completing failover. So now we can see the new VM. It's taking some time. You can go and check the status here. If you select this, it will show you what is happening now. So shutdown, I have skipped it. Now it's starting the failover. It will start the replica VM here. You can also see the detailed information here. If you want to do one last time of synchronization also, you can enable it. Okay, now it is successful. So you can see the VM here. Yeah, so this is the VM. Okay, it's now running. So you can also, if the public IP is not available, you can also go and attach the public IP this time also. So you can go to the public IP and attach it to the new VM. It will take 2 or 3 minutes for the synchronization or the changes to take effect. I can go and pick up the same IP and I can associate with the network interface of the actual VM. AWS web server without the -test. The previous network interface, it had -test. This interface, it does not have anything, any suffix. I can go and select the network interface. So once after you do that, then you give like 1 or 2 minutes. If the network security group is there, you can leave that, or else you have to go and attach the network security group also. So let's wait. Any question from anyone? If you are seeing this for the first time, then it will take some time. You have to at least practice it once. Okay, failover is completed. Very good. Okay, now let this step complete. I'll also attach the network security group to this network interface so that I'm allowing the 80 port, which one we created. Migration. I can attach it to the network interface which has got created for AWS web server. Attach it. So I have actually, like, the network security group will take effect after 2 or 3 minutes. You have to be patient. You have to be waiting for 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so once this is done, you can give it 1 or 2 minutes and you can start verifying the connectivity. Okay, you can just go to the VM, go and select the server, copy the IP address of the server, and you can do the verification. We already tested it on the test failover. Now also there should not be any issues. Perfect. It's much faster now. Okay, so even you guys can check it. You can also log into this VM now. So it's perfectly going well. Okay. It is going to the AWS Web Server 1. Okay, perfect. So we have migrated a VM from AWS to Azure platform, and you can see the server in Azure virtual machine list. Okay, we have migrated it and we are able to connect to it, and you are able to access the web page. Everything is intact. Okay, any questions from anyone on what you have seen now? So once after you are done with the failover and all, you can go and complete the migration. But if you want to reprotect it or reverse replicate it, you can also do that. You can also change the recovery point. So you can just one more replication and bring up to fast. And then if you want to just reprotect it, you can select from Azure to on-premises. You can select where you want to replicate back. This is a reverse replication. Reprotection means we are going to do a reverse replication, and you have to create a storage account for that, and it will automatically do a reverse sync. Whatever happened from AWS to Azure, now it will go from Azure to AWS. And if you want to complete the migration, you can disable the replication first. And I'll say I don't want, I completed migrating my application. Okay, if you want to remove the replication, you can just remove it. Or if you want to disable and remove both, you can also do that. Okay, now it will go and disable the replication and remove the replication related contents. Okay, any questions from anyone? This is the overall flow or overall steps that are involved. I know like it's a lengthy session, but it is very, very important. Okay, so many companies are asking just for Azure migration alone. So you can spend more time. So next week, we'll also, once we complete the database session, we'll also try and explore the database replication option, database migration option. It will give you more confidence on migration. So we already discussed around data, how to migrate the data using AZ copy or Azure Storage Explorer. Today we talked about how to migrate the server using Azure Migrate or Azure Site Recovery. They are Azure Migrate uses Site Recovery, or you can say like they work hand in hand. So next week we'll see Azure Database. So these topics are not in scope for this class. Okay, desktop. If you learn Azure Virtual Desktop Infrastructure or Azure VDI class, you'll get to understand how to migrate the desktops and all those things. That's a complete different topic, and it takes more time. Okay, so today we saw how to migrate a server from one cloud to another cloud. Next week we'll also see how to migrate a database also. Any questions? Any questions on Gartner 6R? Any question from the justification, timelines, tools?
So Stan, we used Azure site recovery
Yeah.
mode, right?
Yeah.
So in Azure Migrate, will the server be replicated? Like we installed some agent on configuration server, then we migrated. So it should it show as a discover, right, on Azure Migrate, like whatever you imported it.
So so we can either do it directly using the Azure Migrate appliance or import based, and different options are there. So for example, if I want to migrate the server, and I can just go and migrate it, at the end it is going to use the Azure Site Recovery only. Okay, this is a one single portal where you can come and log in and use different tools. For example, if I want to migrate a VDI application, it will give you different tools to analyze and discover, and at the end it is going to provide you the same set of tool. For server replication or server migration, it is going to actually use the Azure Site Recovery only. Okay, this is a single point of tool to manage the project or have a visibility on whatever different activities that you are doing. Azure Migrate, at the end, it is going to use Azure Site Recovery tool for replicating the content. We saw the replication directly and we migrated the system. Okay, so this is a tool where you can do end-to-end migration related activity like discovery, assessment, migration, and all those things. Any other question? Okay, if there are no other questions, then I'll be here for 2 more minutes. Okay, and yeah.
Stanley, one question. Instead of AWS, is there any simple way can we use any kind of a small system from our laptop itself to do the simulation?
Yeah, you can create a VMware small workstation environment, and you can create one vCenter and maybe some small Ubuntu VM or some CentOS, and you can use the appliance. Okay, you can download the appliance from Azure portal. Okay, you can just go and do a download of this. Okay, we used to do that. Okay, so a couple of batches back. Okay, what we used to do is we used to do the same thing. Okay, we go and download the appliance from here. Okay, and we create the appliance and we start doing the replication. So the problem is it takes at least 7 hours. Okay, I've taken think last November batch or July batch. What happened is we took 4-hour session in the morning and we took a break and we started back again at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and we had a 2-hour session to complete the activity. Okay, so that's when I took this cloud to cloud migration as an option. Okay, so here you can just go and download it. Yeah, whatever, at the beginning of the class, we had option to select the appliance, right? You can just download that appliance. You can import it into your VMware workstation. Using that, you can do the same activity that we did. But you can not create a Windows VM. Windows VM will take more time. So you can create a small CentOS or a kind of Red Hat Linux.
Even Windows VM with the DOS OS, which will come very less, right?
Yeah, that is also will be quick. But in case of any troubleshooting, you'll have challenges. That's the only thing. Okay, because any agent installation or such stuff, you will not have some control. Okay, that's the only challenge. Otherwise, you can use DOS also. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then I'll stop the recording. Okay, thank you guys for joining, and thank you for